Hello? 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 We'll be ready to roll in like 1 minute. I'm here. Okay. Hello? All right, what have I missed? Anything exciting? Have you guys been hanging out, bro? What's been new? How's life? My God, is my game not gonna capture? Oh, there we go. There was the Zizarin interview, and I think that's what we're gonna do. Counting down the hours? Well, at least we get the preload. That's pretty good, right? Bro, what's up, man? All right. I had the interview somewhere. Good morning. There is a preload, and that has been changed. Thank you for the follow. Good morning. Thank you for the follow. How are you guys today? What's up, lads? Good morning. Well, look, give me a sec. I'm a little behind today. How's Dark Monk? I don't know. I haven't worked on it all. I have so many tabs open. I'm trying to get all my tabs closed and organized, so I don't know what the fuck's going on anymore. Okay. So yes, Jonathan did say in this interview that there was no pre-download, but then this came out a little while later that says Path of Exile 2's early access soon. We've had a lot of players asking to pre-download to ensure they could play on launch, and to accommodate this, we'll be making the standalone PC client available for download 5 p.m. on Thursday. Oh, fuck. So if you're going to play in the standalone client, you can download it on Thursday. Otherwise, Steam is downloaded on Friday. They're worried about data mining. I mean, the game's already been data mined, right? Hurrah for the standalone. Yeah, I'm really excited for the standalone. I am really, really excited for the standalone. Was the Scissor interview good? Like, is it worth the watch, you think? Or is it like meh? I heard it was pretty good. I haven't personally had the chance to watch it yet. I don't use Steam for PoE. Me neither, bro. Twinsies. It was so good. Nice. All right, then we'll definitely give people a minute to like stumble on in, and then we'll take a look at it. But I did put out a new YouTube video today. Oh, I should update my commands for the new YouTube video. You actually watched the whole thing? Edit POE2. Oh no, did I never? Oh, I did set up the live stream for YouTube. Okay. Check out my latest video on Path of Exiles 2 early access here. Let's see if this works. Do I have it? Do I have what? Early access? Shit. I have early access.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome.
This fucking interview is an hour 40? Damn it! We're gonna be here all day.
Everybody, I am joined here today by Jonathan Rogers, director on Path of Exile 2. Thank you so much for being here.
Multi-shake?
No problem.
You're
I mean, you know, it's always good to talk to you. We've done a number of these interviews, and I honestly, I'm always...
That's like long gone. A lot of that stuff's already, a lot of that shit's been given away already to other people. Like a lot of the stuff that I get from you guys, I've given away already. I'd have to go see where it went or who has it or whatnots and who's it's. Dude, I haven't logged into PoE in like a minute, man. It'll take me 8 hours to get through. It might. There's a world, man. It might.
Always happy just to just talk to whoever's got good questions for me, honestly.
Yeah, I've tried to do just that. So I've sent Jonathan some of the questions ahead of time just so he could prepare. We could have a little bit less dev check. And yeah, I've tried really hard to not have any repeat questions except for a few that I really want to push back a little bit on and talk a little bit about.
Sure.
But yeah, it was honestly it's been so many things that's been changing. So while like making questions with chat, it's been a little bit like, have they answered this? So like it's yeah, but very excited for this. So I want to start with an interesting question for me personally, because PoE2 is so different than PoE1. And I don't know how familiar you are with World of Warcraft, but a big event there for me was the Gates of Ahn'Qiraj opening with like
I remember
basically the server coming together and working on something and that affecting like a little bit of the future outcome. So have you ever thought of doing a league like that where the future of the league or how it goes core depends on how us as players perform during the league? As
Dude,
a quick example, like maybe we lose the war towards breach, or we win the war, and that like changes a future league.
It's something interesting. I feel like we did something like this before, but I'm trying to remember which thing it was.
That was a good question.
Wasn't it like Tempest, actually? Like, I feel like Tempest had a mechanic like this, but maybe it was like really not obvious. Like, it's actually the kind of thing I am interested in doing. We just haven't really kind of ended up with a league design that kind of wanted to do it. Because you have to be really careful with that stuff, that you don't, like, it can be frustrating for players just because, okay, probably not the thing you're referring to, because that's the whole like coming together and actually like towards a single goal over the long term. But we've had a few mechanics where playing the league affected before, and I think Tempest was one of them. Where like I think it was that one where the more people who farmed something, after a certain number of people had farmed it, it actually the mechanic moved us to another location.
Oh, that's cool too.
And
hello.
Yeah. So that was kind of interesting. But like I think that we sort of decided for that particular case that we weren't like that happy with it, because I kind of had this thing of like, you know, the idea of unfairness of like, you know, oh, you have to like, someone says like, oh, this happened in the middle of the night, you need to wake up and do this, and so we kind of weren't happy with that. But I mean, the thing you were saying there about the gates, I mean, like that's pretty cool. I just like, I guess you have to be prepared for like both outcomes and then exactly what you're going to do in both cases. Like it needs to actually feel like it had a meaningful impact.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be the follow-up league. Like it could be something that you do
right.
half a year later or something. Like you say that we have to kill like 6 billion monsters, and if we don't, like the league will be different.
Right.
But yeah,
I guess I'm also kind of into the idea, although maybe people aren't, of like you create like a thing that once you've achieved it, unlock something for all players. Like that kind of stuff could be potentially fun. So I mean, there's stuff you could do there. But
yeah.
I
don't have any plans for it in particular. Like I haven't actually thought too much about this kind of stuff. But yeah, like I don't know, it's kind of interesting. I'll keep it in mind when we're doing the next league design for sure.
Nice, cool.
That was really cool. That was a good question.
So I have a few questions about stash tabs. The first one is for things that don't have a PoE2 equivalent, like let's say Blight, right? Are we just not getting a tab at all, or are we going to instead get like a regular premium tab or something like that?
Yeah, so currently you don't get anything, and basically that's because we still want to be able to potentially add that content later, and then at that point that tab.
Excited. I actually just made another YouTube video
for that.
I actually just like in the last like 15 minutes released another YouTube video for Friday. If you haven't already watched it, chat, now would be a great time to go. Well, I mean, to queue it up for later, or let it play now while we're watching this on like super silent, and then watch it again later for the second view.
For that league. So if we gave you something now, then we'd have to like, I guess, read only the other. If we gave you a bonus tab now, we'd have to like give you a read only one or something like that. And effectively, the main thing is that we're trying to just make it so that where it makes sense, the thing you bought before will work. Yeah, I think that for the particular one you mentioned there.
Yeah.
I suspect that in the future there'll be a time when that will work again, and so you're kind of going to be good in that regard.
Okay.
But I guess it might be like, it is worth bringing up though that if we get to the point of like literally we're never going to use this ever in PoE2, I suppose we could consider like having a replacement tab or something like that. But at least for the time being, like we still intend that a lot of that stuff still gets used anyway.
Hello.
That makes sense. Now,
so that literally means pretty much what he just said. If I understand what he just said correctly, every single current thing in PoE1 that has a tab is currently planned to come back. If I understood what he just said correctly. So I guess that means we're going to see everything that we have. I don't know what's going to happen with Scarabs though and Fragments, but I guess the Fragment tab is just like adjusted for the Waystones. Maybe that's where like the Waystone stuff is going because we're not getting mapping stuff? Question mark? But the way he phrased what he just said, it sounds like everything is coming back. Heist doesn't have its own tab. Heist has a locker. Right? Heist has a locker. But then again, Expedition has a locker, so I don't know. I don't know. Sounds a little interesting.
Oh, the next question is also about stash tabs. And I remember at some point there was a big discussion about consolidating normal tabs and letting people make quad tabs. Now, if I recall correctly, the reason this didn't go through is there was a big issue with like database problems because we already have stuff in remove only tabs, right? PoE2 doesn't have this issue. Is there a chance that we can like for example, there's quite a lot of people like me that have 100 normal stash tabs and would like to merge 4 at a time into a quad stash tab. Is that something that could be an option now with PoE2?
Please.
Let me think about that. So it's certainly not something that we've done. I suppose we could potentially do that. I have to say that I'm personally not a huge fan of the quad tab overall, just because, like, I understand the like gameplay utility of it, but it's just, I don't know. There's something about it that sucks a little bit to me, of just about the way that it just, you don't really, I feel like you don't appreciate the items the same way. Now, admittedly, if you're just playing the game and you're like, you know, like you don't care about this at all, right? Like, I understand that you don't, and so it's fine. We've got that option. But yeah, it's just one of those things that I've kind of never really loved about it. Like, it kind of makes the items just look a bit lame, but you know, whatever. As I said,
I don't think it's a bad take. I mean, from a developer standpoint, it makes sense, right? Like, they spend all this time and effort to like make something and make it look good, and their artists go out of their way, and you know, they really want you to appreciate what the item looks like, right? The only difference is just like, I mean, quad tabs, I mean, they're useful, yeah, but I don't personally like the look of them, right? So I understand where he's coming from. It just makes the gear and stuff look bad, right? So I don't know.
I understand that in practice, like for a gamer, it's like you don't care about this. But yeah, like I guess it's one of those.
They confirm if we bought stash tabs in PoE2, if they're showing in PoE2. I really don't want to buy more tabs. That was the first question that Zizaran asked. Zizaran said, "What will happen with the tabs?" And Jonathan said that the tabs that are relevant in PoE2 or PoE1 into PoE2 will, you know, come over. So, no. That's why I paused it. It's fine to re-ask questions. That's the whole point of doing like these interview watch party things, right? So that we can get the information to you guys. The only thing right now, though, is stash tabs like Blight that don't currently have a use in PoE2 will not, like, they don't do anything. They're not there, right? And he inferred that things that are not in PoE2 that or things that are in PoE1 that have a tab will eventually be in PoE2.
Haven't done this. I guess we theoretically might be able to do that, but yeah, as I said, it's just not something we've done.
Yeah, I'm a very big fan of the quad tabs, and I actually it's funny you brought up Tempest. That's actually where I ended up buying 100 normal tabs, because the radiating Tempest and the 20 XLs, I was like, and I was new at the time, and you know, when you're new to the game, you don't want to get rid of everything. So the next question is, we've seen on the PoE health bar that there are numbers now, right? So we have basically damage numbers in the game. So I wanted to bring up, have you thought about letting us have a literal target dummy?
Okay, so we've thought about this for sure. The concern that came up the moment we discussed the target dummy is, okay, what resistances does it have? What, like, you know, like what like all this kind of stuff. Like basically there'd have to be state, like how much armor does it have? How much evasion does it have? Like all these things. And so then we started getting into, okay, like you'd have to have some way to set these values, right? You'd have to be able to be like, okay, I'm going to set up a target dummy with this particular amount of armor or whatever to simulate whatever boss it was. And then we're kind of like, okay, should we then have a thing where you can like select, like, okay, here's a boss that it's going to be equivalent to, and then like that would be how we could to do stuff like this. And then we're kind of like, well, hang on, at some point you just got the actual boss itself, you might as well just use that. And then we're kind of like, well, like maybe the target dummy kind of then is like not kind of like it starts to lose its utility then, you know. So the whole chain of reasoning kind of came from all of that stuff. Like I do understand like where you're coming from, saying that's not good enough. But
I think you're overcomplicating it a little.
Yeah. Right. So you reckon target dummy with no stats, so then you're good?
Literally a target dummy with no stats. Like, and like, if you really, like, if you don't want to overcomplicate it, you could even have two, right? One that's the equivalent of, like, let's say Shaper, right? Or literally just like one boss and one normal monster. But even if all you give us is a target dummy with no resistances and no nothing, that is like already a lot better, in my opinion.
Right. I mean, I'm definitely like I'm actually kind of like probably fine with this, but like as I said, the main concern was that. So it's funny because like anytime you're discussing a feature like this, there's always all the questions of like, okay, so then what are people going to immediately ask for the moment we add this? And so that's how we end up down the path of like, oh, it's like going to require this or this or this or this, and then all these things. And then that suddenly the feature is killed because of like the feeling of over complexity. So I guess that's just sort of explain like how that sort of stuff occurs. But
he's definitely overcomplicating it, like without a doubt, overcomplicating it, right? Like I'm not the only one who thinks he's like. I mean, I know Ziz called him out. I'm like, you're overcomplicating it, but like, it does not need to be that complicated. The guild tabs getting tossed interesting. I haven't gotten there yet. I don't know what he said about it. Are they really just tossing all the guild tabs? I'm sure that's never gonna fly, right? Target dummy wouldn't even work for it. I don't think the game needs a target dummy, but I mean, there are clearly people that want a target dummy. And if there's a target dummy, you know, it's fine. With 0 stats, I just want to see numbers fly. I think that's just what it is. I just think people just like seeing numbers. I'm pretty sure that's like all that it is. It has nothing to do with like the actual utility. It has more so to do with like people wanting to see numbers, right? That's like literally it, isn't it? Like it doesn't need any other kind of use. It just literally comes down to like people wanting to see like fucking big number. Feels that invert res would not test effectively on target dummy. I don't disagree with you, but people are weird, man. Dot skills will never register correctly nor show what you're trying to figure out. Maybe he's right then. Maybe it is better to leave it out. Like maybe it is just overall like a better decision to just not have them then. I'd pay to see numbers. I'm not even gonna lie. You like the numbers flying across the screen though, like in the Diablo fashion? You can go negative res. That's the whole point of inverting res. You can literally invert if it's set 50, they have 50 res, it goes minus 50, right? That's the whole point of inverting. I can calculate dot damage on a static round. I mean, Diablo does it. Diablo calculates it. I like playing the game to determine if my build is good. You mean you don't like loading up a program and staring at it for 4 fucking hours, determining that if the one node for the 0.001.11100% increase is worth it? Got head ready to leave. See you later, man. I like when number go burr. Crazy. Crazy. We should chat soon. There's just never been time. Soon though, you know. Dude, I've sat down the last 2 days at midnight at my computer. By the time I get Dean to bed, clean the house, prep for YouTube, do work stuff, and take care of like the IRL things that I've had going on, I've sat down at midnight. It's been wild. Not a POB truther. I'm definitely not either. I don't know. POB confuses the shit out of me. It's gonna be really interesting to see how the game goes on without POB. Well, I mean, POB will be there, but like, you know, before it exists. Trav, what's up, man? How are you, homie? What is going on? Play a G money. Sir, madam.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you're saying it's fine with no, like with no stats at all, like maybe it's something we could consider doing. Like, I'm not really opposed to it, to be honest.
Yeah, I know a lot of people on it. There is a lot of people that don't as well, but yeah, figured I would bring it up.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm just out of interest. So to hear the case for people who don't want it, like, what do you think is really the behind that? Because I mean, I've heard this argument from some GG people before, but as far as people in the community, like, what do you reckon is the reason for like no target dummies?
Let's see. I'm seeing so many people say I do want it. Someone said we have POB, don't need dummy. It would feel too competitive.
Sup? What a man.
Right.
Misleading numbers. I'm trying to like pick.
Well, they shouldn't
like...
be misleading. So long as the target dummy actually emulates a real monster, the numbers wouldn't be misleading, right?
Yeah.
So then that's the argument, therefore, and then that exact thing there is like, oh, well, that's why you have to have, that's why you have to have the ability to simulate a given actual enemy.
Sometimes less info is better. I don't know. It's hard to see like reasons for why not.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
The next topic is gonna be a bit of a longer one and a bit of a discussion. I want to talk about what the current state of portaling out at bosses is, and then talking a little bit about pausing and logging out as well.
Yeah.
This I'm really interested in.
So basically, so you can't portal out of a boss fight. This was something that we tried for a while to make it so that you could portal out of boss fights, but with timers and stuff like that. But eventually, we're just kind of like, you know what? Why are we even trying to do this? Let's just completely ban it, and then that way we don't have to worry about like all the potential kind of like rules and weird stuff about like, oh, you stand at this location, the boss can't hit you, like random stuff like that. Like it just effectively removed a lot of potential exploits. And I think that probably was just a straight up improvement. There's been actually a few other changes we've made. Like this is something probably people will never notice, but you can no longer swap your gear in the middle of a boss fight either.
Every fucking person on the planet who has ever swapped a gem, Jonathan, in the middle of a boss fight would know. My man just said, we can't swap gear in a fight. I mean, granted, it's probably very little, but I have definitely, as a delver, swapped gear in and out of fights.
That's been
now disallowed. Oh yeah, I do it all the time. All the time. I do that in mostly every game that I play. Like even in like Diablo, I swap gear like depending on the fight, like in the middle of the fight, depending on the phase, what's going on. People do it all the time. Yeah, I do it. Yeah, I do it all the time. Yeah. No more Culling Strike support gem swap and fight. Yep. That too. Yeah. People swapping Culling Strike. Yep. This means no more boss carries either, right? Boss carries are going to be dead because you just have to be there for the whole fight now. He said gear, you could swap weapons. I'm assuming what he means is that you cannot unequip a weapon and equip a new weapon. So if you have a weapon swap, that's fine. But my assumption is that if you go in with, say, like a bow and a crossbow, but you have a sword in your inventory, you can't swap in the sword at some point, is my guess of how it works. I can't say for certain, obviously, because I haven't played it yet. I definitely swap gems for fight. Well, I don't know if gem swapping is going to have to be a problem anymore because of the new gem system, right? We might not even need to like swap gems anymore, right? Because you could just like have a skill that's like a pseudo 6-link, right? That if it's equipped, yeah, I'm assuming if it's equipped, you could still swap. I mean, it doesn't make sense, right? Especially with like all the skill points and stuff to like not let you swap. But I'm assuming that you can't equip it from your inventory. That's my big takeaway from what he just said, is that I can't equip things from my inventory.
Too. And like a few other things like this. Like these are just things that, like, once again, people probably won't normally run into if they're not trying to do some kind of exploit, but effectively, like, we just want to make sure that, like, when you're actually in for a boss fight, you actually have like a proper experience. Like, you have to actually overcome the boss without some kind of weirder forms of cheese that you might otherwise try to do.
So what happens if, let's say that a hardcore player goes in, they get 60% through the fight, and they realize they can't do this? What happens if they log out and wait until the next day?
So you can always log out, like resurrect at checkpoint effectively, or like log out and just wait for time. So like it's possible to get out of a boss fight, right? Like you're not locked into that forever. So that being the case, like effectively, like, you know, like if you know that you can't do it, you can get out. And this is sort of an interesting question, because I know there are people who are kind of be like, oh, it would be nice if, like, once you've decided to do something, you're kind of committed to that action. But I just think that we probably didn't want to really go down that path, because it would mean that, like, I feel like that would kind of probably feel a bit bad, I think.
Okay,
and, like, so the concern then,
yeah. So just so I'm understanding, so from the first thing you said, I was under the impression that if I go into a boss fight, let's say I'm going to fight the Shaper, right?
Yeah.
Either the shaper dies or I die, but then that's not the case.
No, that's not the case. So you can actually like you can bail. That is the case. You can't portal, but you can choose to restart at checkpoint or like log out to back. Like if you log out. Okay, so if you just Alt F4, right? What'll happen is when you log back in, you'll be in exactly the same place you were, which is like. But that's more that the feature there is more about like trying to make sure that you don't like lose your place when you're just playing, right? And you disconnect for a reason.
The logout meta is even stronger now.
But if
he explains in a bit that there's like logout mechanics now, right? Like there's like features. Hold on, we'll get to it.
If you but if you want to choose to leave the fight, you can decide to do that. Like that is okay. And just another thing with that, by the way, is like I believe that the feature where if you lag, that the game gets paused. I believe that did get done, which means that even if you just have like internet lag, the actual server will pause while the lag is happening. So then, regardless of whether you get disconnected or not, you're not going to die during the middle of an internet lag spike. And I believe that it might be like 100 milliseconds or something like that. Is like basically if your client's not responding for that amount of time, then effectively the whole instance just pauses and like we'll just wait until you're good before we keep going again. Yeah, so that's how that works basically. But yes, you can leave.
Yeah. So could you walk me through the difference real quick? So will I have to log out and wait 15 minutes, or will it be hitting escape and then clicking like leave fight?
Yeah, so if you hit escape, there's a button there called respawn at checkpoint, and effectively that will just mean that you can, at any time you can choose to do that. Now, obviously the concern with that, like, and we've actually discussed this quite a lot internally about like, should that be okay? Because there was like a whole discussion with this of like, the fact that there's just a button you can do to press this kind of like would mean that like, it's like even if you see like a slam coming, you'd be able to like push escape and just like push that button before it arrives. And that is the case. But the thing is, if we required you to log out and wait 15 minutes, that would kind of be lame too. Like, I don't really want to like, and the counter argument to that one was like, oh, but like that's at least more friction to actually doing this. And it's like, well, yeah, but then do you really want the strategy to be that you have to log out and wait 15 minutes? Like, it's just kind of lame. So in the end, we kind of decided to do the more, I guess what I would call player friendly thing of just like, you know, that option is there for you. You can leave if you want. So effectively, yeah, in some sense, I suppose you could say that that's kind of equivalent to the Alt F4 you could do in PoE1.
Yeah, actually even stronger than a logout macro.
That's kind of where we ended up anyway.
It's pretty strong.
Just to confirm, this does not kill you on hardcore, right? Oh, I lost audio.
Wait, no, it doesn't. Oh, sorry, yeah, it doesn't.
Okay.
But let me just think about this because I feel like I'm just getting a memory suddenly of us talking about that as well.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that's I'm pretty sure that that's fine. But I feel like I remember.
The concern I would have there of why that would be a bad thing, and I know a lot of people are against logout macro.
Right.
And I actually thought it would be something like a 2-second portal you'd have to cast, and then it would.
You can even pause and assess what to do. I mean, that's just the nature of the game now. Yeah. I mean, but you can do that in like regular games. Like if we're say talking about, and I hate to use this example, but Dark Souls, right? Like there's a world too in like Dark Souls. I'm pretty sure in Dark Souls you could like pause what you're doing and reassess. I think. What's going on? What I mean? I don't really see a negative side to this. Like, it's fine. You don't need to punish people for playing the game, right? Like, people can just, like, play the game to play the game. Not everyone, and I hate to say it like this, but, like, not everyone is going to sweat these boss fights, right? It's, like, not that big of a deal at the end of the day.
Fully reset the fight, and you have to go again.
Right.
The reason, personally, I'm not a big fan of, like, having to commit is that you end up over farming so hard to the point where you go in and you know there's a 0% chance of you dying, right?
Right.
Like as a normal shaper for now. Whereas like if you can die, it's a lot more fun being able to go in before you're ready. So that's awesome. I'm very, very happy with that answer.
I will mention, by the way, that there is a very old league flag. I don't know if it's exposed on the private league interface. It probably isn't, honestly. But there's a very old league flag that actually does enable a timer when you disconnect before you actually get disconnected.
It ruins the meaning of hardcore? I mean, then just don't use it. I don't understand how it ruins the meaning of hardcore for anybody but the person that feels like it's ruined for, right? Like, you could still, like, fuck up and die, right? You could still not be able to do it, right? You can, like, go into this fight and he's gonna go do this thing, and you're just like, oh shit, I can't, like what's, you know, like what's worse, right? Like, is it better to have the opportunity to be able to try the fight like Ziz just said, realize you can't do it, and then bail and like come back? Or is it better to just like Ziz was saying, just be so overgeared it's trivialized, right? If anything, like it's the same thing as a logout macro, right? Because like in PoE1 now, you just log the fuck out. But the only difference is now is I don't need to use a third-party tool to do it. The game will just do it for me. But also, like chat's saying too, hardcore is a self-imposed challenge. Like, you know, the game's not forcing you to do it, and there's no reward for doing it. Like, you're doing it yourself, right? So if you want the extra challenge, like, you should go into a boss fight, and if you're gonna fucking die, you should just stand there and just take the slam, idiot. Not you being the idiot, but like the person who's just like, I'm just gonna fucking do this, herp derp derp, kill my character. Because I think given the opportunity, there's a ladder and people compete with each other. Do you really want to see the meta of everyone pausing while they're about to be slammed and quit? I don't give a fuck if they pause and slam and quit. Yeah, to me, I don't give a shit. Because guess what? I'm a softcore Andy. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna fucking pause the fight and quit too if I can't do it. Yeah, dude, I don't give a shit. I don't care if people are racing. I don't care about any of that. Like, it has no impact and no effect on me. Zero. Like, actual zero. There's no money. There's no nothing. There's no Hall of fucking Fame. I don't get blown for being fucking the first in the world to like kill Azaro. You know, like it has zero effect. And if it was the gauntlet, I'm sure there'd be rules in place for the gauntlet. But if it's a level playing field where everybody can do it, what's it matter? I only want to slay monster and find sweet loot. That's what I want to do. Hell yeah, dude. Absolutely. And you know what? If I play hardcore, if I try hardcore and I want to like pause a fight and log out, I'm going to pause a fight and log out. Like, obviously it has no effect on Scissorin right now because he's a hardcore guy. Like, he is like a big hardcore guy, right? What's the difference if they time it with a logout macro? There isn't. Well, he's saying that it's more powerful than a logout macro right now because you could pause the fight and reassess what's going on, right? So like you could pause the fight, reassess the current situation, make a decision on if you want to log out or not, or decide how you want to try to avoid a slam, versus a logout macro would just like log you out and just like you would be like restarted, you know? But I thought the allure was the fear of everything you build could disappear in an instant. Moving to softcore hinders that fear. Even I would play hardcore now. Nah, dude. I'm not playing hardcore in a game I've never played before with, like, playing hardcore in Path of Exile 2 right now. Like, if you log on Friday and click the hardcore button, you are literally asking to, like, get your booty, like, fucking split. That's not the point. Will for sure remove the fun on watching anybody who plays hardcore, regardless of self-imposed or not, to use escape. I don't ever see that happening. I mean, I don't know about that, man. Like, do you not watch any of that? Like, does watching players in hardcore currently with a logout macro, like, if you were to turn on, I don't know, who's a big hardcore guy besides Ben, right? I don't know any of the other hardcore guys. But if you were to turn on, to say, Ben's stream and he were to use a logout macro because some stupid shit happened, would you just be like, I'm never watching Ben again? Fuck him. You know what I mean? Is this hardcore? Yeah. I mean, do you just turn off Ziz's stream whenever he like? I don't think he's mental. I think it's reasonable. I don't think it's a bad. I mean, he's not being an asshole. He's not being mean or facetious, right? He's just stating his opinion. I don't think his opinion is like invalid. But the counter argument is like if this removes the fun I think the logout macro is stupid. There's a lot of people who share that sentiment with you that the logout macro is stupid. But my question to you is, have you stopped watching streamers or people that you support in the hardcore community who use a logout macro? Like, do you not turn on Ziz's stream anymore? Or do you not turn on Ben's stream anymore? Or insert username here that uses a logout macro? Because if you still watch them and still support them, your previous point of it takes the fun away is invalid. That doesn't mean you have to put an even stronger option. You don't even know if it's a stronger option because we haven't played with it yet. We're just assuming based on what Jonathan said it's a stronger option. And it always doesn't necessarily mean it's a stronger option, because you could like literally unfreeze your game and panic and die, right? And if you were going to freeze your game to log out, you were just gonna log out anyways, right? Like if the argument is, or not argument, but if the conversation is, does pausing my game to decide if I want to log out more powerful than just logging out or using a macro? If you were going to pause your game to make a decision to log out, you were probably going to just log out anyways. The reason for the option is aimed at people dying to connection issues, though, isn't it? It is. It is to, from my understanding, what he just said, the whole system is designed around trying to mitigate as many bullshit things from happening, or to like give the player the opportunity to like sit back and like make an informed decision. No, I don't follow anything he does. How far are we? This interview hurt my brain. We're at the stage where they're talking about the new logout macro, and there's a gentleman in YouTube chat who has some, I wouldn't say strong opinions, but James in YouTube chat just does not like it and has been very vocal in like not a negative way, but he's just been like, look, this is fucking stupid. Like, I can't get behind this. It ruins the integrity of the game. But I don't even know, like, well, I don't know. He didn't say integrity of the game, but he just said it like, it's like fucking stupid, right? I don't even know, though. Like, it doesn't, I don't know, man. Fucking hardcore is just dumb anyways. So vague. Why is it depressing? Very interesting to see how many eyes on PoE2. Even Forson's playing PoE now. Yeah, there's a lot of people. Chronomancer's time stops usable. Hey, a lot of a basic question, but how do we increase the amount of support sockets we can bind to a skill in PoE2? You have to wait till Friday Moon and play and find out Friday with everybody. It ruined the game for me, but it goes against what hardcore should be, in my honest opinion. What hardcore should be is literally designed by the developers of the game. So like, it's just your opinion. You want the answer because we know how it works? Oh, I want the answer. Oh, I want to know. It's probably tied to something stupid like ascending, right? Hardcore, we should make it. Not nobody gonna tell me how to have my fun. Yeah, I just think if you're against it and you want to play hardcore, just don't use it, right? And if you're against people using it and you're not a fan of it, like, just don't watch people that use it. But you can't be like, this is fucking stupid, and then still go watch Ben and Zizarin who, like, auto log out all the time, right? Like, if any of these streamers ever, like, if this is your stance on it and any of these streamers ever use it, like, you just probably should, I don't know if you're turning their stream off or not. The actual answers, there are 3 new tiers of jewelers are 1 of each. 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5 supports. They are auto linked. Gotta run lab and add a socket. Oh no. Yeah, I don't know. I think people are not saying James, but I think overall, from a lot of what I've heard about PoE2, and this is one of the reasons why I was very hesitant to even watch this interview, is there's just a lot of interesting views on what PoE2 should and shouldn't be. That makes little to no fucking sense. You don't want to watch me wipe my ass and then go to the bathroom? No. IGN just dropped a new interview with Jonathan. Oh, Jesus. Well, there's not going to be time to watch both of them today. if we're already stopping and pausing, and I'm already late today to stream because I put out a YouTube video. By the way, if you haven't checked out today's latest YouTube video, make sure you guys go check out the latest YouTube video. Woo! And interact with it, and comment on it, and like, and do all that fun stuff. It would be super helpful. Thanks, man.
So if we wanted to run a league that had that functionality of where like you have to commit to everything when you do it, like because you'll stay in game, we actually could turn on a flag that would allow that. So I don't know if you ever want to run a gauntlet like that sometime, where you actually have to you have to commit to something like that.
That's the people who do it competitively use the shotgun mechanics at their disposal.
That'd be perfect. I think that's really good for a gauntlet.
He just said it was really good.
All right.
A quick question as well. In PoE1, we have the 6-second disconnect timer. Is that accounted for with the 100 millisecond lag thing you talked about?
Okay, so effectively the 6-second disconnect timer is still like that is just like after 6 seconds of like you not being in game, then we just terminate the socket and you're gone. But because of the 100 millisecond pause thing existing now, effectively the 6-second thing doesn't like really matter anymore, because it's only important for, like because the instance is frozen anyway. So all that's doing is just making it so that like look, at some point we have to give up on the fact that you're not going to actually be able to come back again. In theory, we could actually increase that time now, because like there's really no downside to it being that long, or even longer, so that would give longer for the internet to recover. But I mean, I guess we just haven't kind of done one thing or the other. But the thing that's going to matter to you really is just the fact that after 100 milliseconds, instances paused, you're not going to die. And how long?
But see, like even a system like this that helps players not get punished for their internet being bad in a hardcore sense, like Jonathan saying, listen, if your game lags for 100 milliseconds, we'll pause your game. In a hardcore world, what is stopping fucking Joe Bob over here doing a boss with his router on his desk, right? With his router on his desk and the boss going haywire and him flipping the switch on his router knowing the game's immediately going to pause. Like, what's stopping Joe Bob from fucking abusing the safety net that's put in place for legitimate players? You know what I mean? Like, so like I turn on hardcore for the first time, and I'm obviously like not a hardcore guy, and I have fucking, I don't know, Cox internet, which I'm sure one of you guys here has like Cox or fucking Spectrum, right? You know, I'm sure there's somebody in here who's thinking about their Cox or Spectrum, or like they're fucking, they live in rural bumfuck nowhere and are still on DSL, and they know their internet's gonna hiccup, right? Like they know their internet's gonna hiccup, and why should they be punished? Because like they live in bumfuck nowhere with Spectrum. I gotta turn the fan on. It's hot as shit. I like DSL. What they talked about earlier this year was if you disconnected, you would return to the same position you left, and that wasn't abusable. But was that feasible? Oh, this is a Nintendo wire. My cat was just like sitting down crying because his little toy is fucking dead. And I saw him like hovering over his little mouse. I gotta plug in his mouse. This game's supposed to be more of a hardcore game. It's not supposed to be accessible. Holy. Let's plug in the toy. If you have a shitty connection and decide to play hardcore, you should know what you're getting into. So we're just gatekeeping who and who shouldn't be playing. And we're just like telling people that like, sorry, you have a bad internet. Like you're don't fucking play, your shit out of luck. Like, should people, so we're essentially punishing people because they have to live in a place and they can't afford to live somewhere better. Right? Or what if like, I don't know, somebody lives in like insert country here. Like, are they just like, well, you can't play hardcore because fuck you. You chose like you are your life RNG'd into a bad spot. Sorry, you RNG'd. You're fucking, you should know, but don't do it. What? No? Well, that's like the insanity of like what it is, right? Like if you have a shitty connection, decide to play hardcore, you know what you're getting into, right? So like, should we punish then people who live in a bad, they can play softcore, can't they? Why can't they play hardcore? Why do they have to play softcore? Why do people who live in a shitty internet area have to play softcore? Why can't they play hardcore? Why do we have to gatekeep who and who can't play? Why do they have to play softcore? Like, are they, you know, are they not allowed? You know? Like, that's the whole argument. Like, it's now it comes down to like gatekeeping who can and can't because of like these crazy ideas. I'm not saying that you're crazy, but like, where's the line drawn then? And this, ladies and gentlemen, is Path of Exile 2 in a nutshell. We welcome you to our humble abode.
How long it takes before we like actually time your whole connection out is kind of not really as relevant anymore.
Awesome. That's super cool. I can't remember in whose interview you were talking about it, but you expressed some interest in racing again and saying that that's something you considered revisiting now. But obviously you were cognizant of the fact that it's not necessarily what's going to like bring people back or bring revenue to the company, right? And you are a company. So I wanted to suggest, have you thought about having a specific like battle pass maybe, or even one singular item for racing and telling people, look, if there's interest, we'll bring back things like Descent, etc., based on how much it sells for. Then like the racing community can literally contribute as much or as little and as there is interest.
I think that's pretty interesting. I actually did have another idea like a long time ago, which
I don't think I like that.
I don't know. Like this is a different idea, but we'll just see. I'm just going to see what you think about it, because we never actually did this, but it was a thing that I was interested in, and that was the idea of like effectively like pay to enter races, where it would be like, you know, like some number of cents to enter a race, and then you effectively, it's sort of similar to the thing that you were talking about there, I guess, except that instead of being for a whole season, it was just like individual races. And that was kind of an interesting idea that I was thinking that maybe people would be interested in, but I wasn't quite sure whether the community would like that or not. Like, it kind of wasn't clear to me. And so we're thinking like, oh, you know, like 5 points to enter a race, and then because of the fact that the rewards, so then effectively the rewards of the race would have to be like cosmetics, right? Because obviously we can't give you rewards in the form of anything that would be player power, given that you need to pay MTX currency to enter. So then, but effectively the
they mentioned PvP,
like the original race awards were alt art uniques anyway, and like effectively, if we remove the actual part where you get the actual unique out of it, in theory we could do like skins and stuff like that as part of the rewards. So we kind of discussed that, but I wasn't like whether I was just like very uncertain about whether the community would like hate this. So I'm kind of curious to hear your idea about what you think about it. I mean, the battle pass is similar, except that it's more of a like one-time purchase for a whole season, I assume.
Yeah, it's also, I was thinking more of like even if it starts out with like a cloak that you buy that isn't like this wouldn't depend on you being able to play or not. This is like if you want to see more of this in the future. I'm more of a fan of free entry and then having a way for people to support and just being open with like, if this is something you guys are interested in, this is how you can show that you're interested in it. If not,
The battle thing is sort of interesting because it already kind of is similar to how the racing structure was anyway. Where you get points, and then like at certain thresholds, you get you get cosmetic.
Yeah.
So it actually probably does match more into it. I just mentioned the other one because it's something I thought of ages ago. Thought it would be interesting to see. But that is an interesting idea. Like the racing battle, it's actually a pretty cool idea. Like I'm interested in this for sure. Cool. The main issue really with that is just that the amount of bandwidth we have for making microtransactions, which is what we need to make for this, is honestly surprisingly low. Like it's so ridiculous in some ways that like for a company that makes money from cosmetics that we don't have more people just working on that stuff.
Yeah.
We effectively need more people to be able to create more stuff like that, and it's like to already get more people for making existing cosmetics. So I guess if we had infinite resources to make that stuff, I would absolutely do something like that. I think that's pretty interesting. So it's just a question of where we get the time.
Yeah, that's fair. Awesome. It's just
I'm surprised they just don't bring back like the older ones, right? Like I'm sure there are plenty of people who would want like demigods to come back, right? Like I know I would love to see like if demigods came back and I can get the older demigods, I'd pay money to try to race. I don't mind the idea of like a couple of like points or like $1 to enter a race. I think that's totally fine. But I think there should be like, if you're going to spend $1 to enter a race, then like you should probably get something for your dollar besides just the entry, because like you're probably going to lose to like Ben level players every single time who just want to farm cosmetics. But as long as the cosmetics aren't tied to an item and they're just account bound, I think it's fine. Because then I don't think people would like re-race for like the same cosmetic unless they just wanted a race to race. But I don't know. It's interesting. So more people can join. I remember what I was around when they used to do the hour-long races and stuff. They were fucking impossible, dude. They were so hard. The players who would race would be so fast. It was crazy.
I'm such a big fan of racing, and I know a lot of people are so wanted to bring that up.
It is cool.
I have a question from a community member in full caps lock. How do character names work? Is it the same as PoE1, or is it #1254 where multiple people can be the same name? So obviously, like our accounts are hashtag now. Are our names still unique?
So we decided to just keep the names the same way they worked before in PoE1, for now at least. And the reason why is because so with account names, you never really have to refer to account names very much while actually typing.
Yeah.
So that we wouldn't have had to worry about all the concerns that come around having to like know people's discriminators and having to like worry about all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
With character names, there's a few other details. So one of them is that they expire. So you don't have the problem where the space just exists. I assume you knew that about character name expiration. Because
I thought that was just done in waves.
It's not done in waves. So effectively, 1 year after the character name after the character has not been logged into, it goes into a pool of names that someone else could create if they want to, and if they then do that, then the name gets expired for you. So effectively, over time, like names will free up again. So that's the way that works. It's actually just as I said, it's just as soon as you haven't logged into a character for a year, that's when
a character or the account?
The character.
Wow. Okay.
So I believe that's how it. At least I think so.
That's
it's been a little while
interesting.
since I thought about this, but I'm pretty sure that's the way that one works. And so because of that, like characters don't have quite exactly the same problem as account names do. And as I said, the character names will be more annoying because that's kind of how that's kind of how you refer to people within the league. So we kind of decided to do that. That being said, if it became like a real problem, I'm open to the idea of doing the whole discriminator on character name thing. It's just that it would mean that you'd have to then have a situation where it's like whenever you're doing a whisper, you'd have to like know, like, because you have to have like autocomplete for this, right? Like you can't have discriminate autocomplete, and then that means you have to have the whole thing of like, okay, are they in your friends list? Are they in the guild? Are they in your party? Have they talked in chat recently? Have they whispered you recently? Like all that stuff would have to go in the pool of things that you.
I don't think names transfer over from PoE1 to PoE2.
Like how Discord used to be, right? When it had stuff. So there's basically just a bunch of work that you'd have to do there, and we could do that stuff if we felt like we needed to, but we're going to try without for the time being, and see how that goes, and like if it's like a real problem, then we can always change it.
There are some audio issues, by the way. I don't know if the mic's too far away or something, but you're cutting out a little bit.
I'll try that. Hopefully that. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what to do about it.
It's not too bad. It's just a lot of people are commenting on it.
Fair enough.
Awesome. So another question with that are, like, for example, I have the name Zizarin right now.
Is there a world where you stop playing? I've said this a couple times and I've gotten crucified every time that I've said this. I have definitely said this a few times and have been crucified for it, but I do think there's a world where one of the games is really good and you'd prefer playing one of the games, and then you just get burnt out on playing just PoE in general, and in between leagues you don't play the other game. Like, say PoE2 is not very good and you'd rather play PoE1. You just play PoE1, and then when you get burnt out, you don't go to PoE2. You just go play, like, I don't know, like fucking League of Legends or whatever you do in your spare time now, right? But there's a world where, like, one game is just so good that, like, you just play it the whole league, kind of like how streamers play the whole league. So it's really hard to, like, it's hard to say, you know. I don't know. You know, I've definitely been on the side of the fence where I'm like, PoE2 looks really good, and with the current way that I feel, and I know this isn't the way that everybody feels, but the current way that I feel, like, it's very hard for me right now, knowing what's coming out on Friday and what we've seen, to want to log in to PoE1. But that's a me, that I'm aware that that's probably just a me thing, right? So I don't know how many other people feel that way, or if that's like a wide feel thing, but I don't know. I might change my mind. Like, this is going to be one of those things where, like, I don't know, how am I going to feel 3 weeks from now? How am I going to feel 4 weeks from now? Like, is PoE2 any good? You know what I mean? Like, there's always the world where we log in PoE1 or PoE2 and, like, I don't think this will be the case, but there is a world where it is bad and it doesn't hold up to expectations, and we're like, fuck. Or it's too hard, or it's too buggy, or something breaks, you know? So I don't know. You know? We'll find out.
In PoE1?
Mm-hmm.
Will I have that in PoE2, or is it like fresh start from everyone, and there will be a character in PoE1 and a character in PoE2?
Yeah, so the characters are separated in PoE1 and 2. The databases are just completely independent. So you'll have to race to get that one, I guess.
All right, I'm not getting that one. Cool. So a few other questions about runes. So runes, they're obviously like replacing the crafting bench, and
sure, yep,
in a way, and can you override them? Like, can I put in a new one over it if I want to change later?
You can't. So that's something that I guess we could potentially do, though. Like, I don't think I'm against it. I'd actually have to talk to
they need to do this
to Rishi and Mark about whether or not we'd want to allow that. But currently, you can't, at least.
So yeah, I'm very curious about this because, from my understanding, one of the main reasons that you wanted to remove sockets from gear was that you really wanted to have this new thing where you find a gear upgrade, you don't need to sync it, you don't need to like get it exactly how you need it to be, you can just equip it. But I feel like I actually love the concept of runes, but I feel like a little bit about how they systematically work sort of ends up canceling this, right? Where I will not be able to actually pick up an item and, wow, this is an upgrade. I will have to fix my runes. Maybe I have to farm them.
I see what you mean, but I don't think it's the same, because the thing with so a couple of things with this. One of them is that when we're talking about the whole like picking up an item and having to change stuff, what that was mostly around is the idea that, okay, like socket colors and so on, right? Like
he just phrased his question and his follow-up. Ziz had the ball in his court and then fucked it. Just fucked it. When Jonathan said you can't remove the runes, Ziz's follow-up should have been, hey, look, I have my body armor. I have my runes in it. I find a helmet. My helmet is new and awesome. I put it on. The runes in my chest plate are now irrelevant. How come I'm punished for not being able to change my chest plate and have to go find a new item? On top of that, from a trade perspective, because this game is so heavy involved in trade, how is it that I'm supposed to trade an item to somebody that is tailored to my specific needs, knowing that the base item would suit them, but the runes would break it for them?
It meant that you had to change, like, either you have to chromatic stuff until the point where like you've actually got exactly what you had before, or you have, which is like definitely way more annoying than having to just use a couple of currency items on your on your item, right? Like chromaticking to get to the right state like could be like very difficult. But or the other thing you might have to do is to just rearrange everything in your character and like, oh, this goes here, that goes there. I use different supports or something like that, right? So to me, that was like a much more arduous process than what this is, because effectively you're going to have the currency that allows you to add sockets to items. It's not hard to get that currency. Like in the early game, it's a little bit more restricted, but effectively you're definitely going to buy, as you go through the game, you're going to have that currency in abundance, I would say. So I don't think it's like necessarily a problem like doing that. But sorry, I felt like you were about to say something there.
Yeah, so especially with resistances and stuff, I'm still a little bit worried about this because you don't have the ability to change that later.
So effectively, in terms of fixing resistances, the sockets are more of a thing that you would be worried about early game for those kinds of stats. When I say early game, I kind of mean like during the campaign, right? Because during the campaign, you're like, okay, I've got low on this resistance. I want to get another one of those. To me, at least, I've found that it's kind of not something that I'm too worried about overall, like as I'm changing items going up, because as you're going through the campaign, you're finding new base types, you're getting new things, you're kind of constantly upgrading. And it kind of hasn't really ended up being a thing where I'm worried about that. If you equip a new item and you're like, I lack this resistance, generally speaking, I'll like, oh, okay, well, I'll add another socket or two to this, and then I'll get the resistance rune out of my stash and use that. So it's kind of ended up being a thing where like just fixing that resistance tends to be a problem that you do after deciding to upgrade it anyway. So that's kind of been okay. And it's worth mentioning that with the runes, because they're kind of like, so at early game, they're more powerful than they are at late game because the values, there's only one value of each for each type.
Yeah.
So that means is that like early game, the resistances you're getting from one of these resistance runes is like extremely huge relative to the other resistance sources you would get. But as you get later into the game, the runes are less effective at solving that problem because the numbers are not stacking up compared to the mods you could get. And so as you get towards the later game, the things that you're going to be wanting to be socketing are more of the soul cores, which have the like different mods that aren't kind of designed to fix those early game problems. And also your character has more mods overall and is generally kind of like more in a good place. So it really is like, in terms of like fixing problems you have, it's more of a like, first sort of 30, 40 levels kind of type deal rather than after that, if you know what I mean. So I think for that purpose, they work really, really well. As for changing them, I suppose we could allow it. I don't actually see a reason why we couldn't do that, although as I said, I haven't talked to Mark and Rishi about it. But I guess the feeling here is that because you got to choose it, it's not quite the same as feeling like you need to be able to remove a mod that you would have from one of the random sources where we have like some random ways to get rid of it. So that was kind of the reason why we're thinking that it can go the way that it has. But as I said, I don't think there's necessarily a downside to allowing you to replace it. So maybe that is fine.
Yeah, but what if I want to give my homie the item and it doesn't help him because I socket
for example, like I normally play SSF. Well, actually, I have been playing a little bit more trade lately, and especially for trade, right? You could see like a perfect item you want to buy of somebody, but they've like got these like garbage runes in it. So I could see that being an issue as well. It's definitely like I'm trying to go into PoE2 with the approach like, well, I haven't played it enough. I'll see how it is. But that is definitely something I'm very worried about, and hopefully something you'd be open to feedback with when we actually try it.
Right. I mean, I'm definitely always open to the feedback of that.
Yeah.
But as I said, I think from actually trying it myself, that hasn't been a problem I've run into particularly. But
you play solo.
I guess we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's fair. How rare are like how rare are the rarest runes, basically?
So the runes themselves are not particularly rare. You get them fairly often. Like, I mean, you'll get, in Act 1, you'll find 4 or 5 of them probably, and then it only increases from there as you get more monster density and so on. So like you're finding them, and generally speaking, like if you're in Act 2, like maybe there'll be a rune that you want that you don't have, but then by the time you're in Act 3, I would say you probably have the runes that you need. Like they're generally available. It's really the soul cores that are the ones that are like it's actually a struggle to find the ones you need of these, because that's where the kind of the higher level gameplay is.
Right. And would you say there are soul cores that are at the rarity, like Eternal Orb, Divine Orb, like that type of stuff?
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know the actual numbers, but I would definitely think so. Like, there's definitely there are definitely hard to find ones for sure.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
The other thing is they don't change it, and we have to tailor all of our gear to either have perfect soul cores all of the time, or if we're crafting for profit, craft with the idea that we have perfect soul cores in our shit all of the time, right? Like that's just the other flip side to it. So we'll see. It's interesting.
Yeah, awesome. Next up, how does like stacking ailment works for like stacking multiple of the same?
Right. So effectively, so in general, ailments don't stack, right? In order to get the ability to stack them, there has to be some kind of mechanic you're getting.
Yep.
Usually that mechanic will have some kind of like that mechanic may have some kind of explanation for like any specific details you have to be aware of. But I guess the main thing to understand is that if you're doing something like stacking poison, the way that works is that all of the poisons that you do will always be on the monster.
Yeah.
And they're all running. But if you've got the ability to stack 2 poisons, then whatever the 2 largest poisons that you currently have that are on there, those will be the active ones. And then when one of those falls off, then the next largest will take its place effectively. So that kind of means that like that's kind of, I believe, sort of generally how like buffs work in PoE, where you've got like, you know, if you can have multiple buffs on a thing, but only one of them is active at a time. So in the case where you're allowed to have more than one, it's just effectively whatever the highest N buffs are that are on the character, that's the ones that you get effectively.
Cool. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's anything else you want to know about that, but
no, not that I can think of. I think that answers that. That's really good.
Sure, fair enough.
Another question from the community: does mana and elemental leech exist?
So mana leech is a thing, but only for attacks.
Yeah.
And elemental leech, I believe, is a thing. There are probably, I believe there are probably like various mechanics around that will give you elemental leech.
Okay.
It's definitely going to be a lot harder. But what we're trying to avoid is mana leech for spells. Because that can kind of like defeat a lot of mechanics and so on. So effectively, that's the main thing. Everything else is fair game, but we just have to, you know, like it just depends on where it comes from. So yeah, that's kind of
last epoch all over again.
Cool. Yeah, no, I know a lot of people are hoping for a spell mana leech, so
mana's gonna be a problem.
That's the thing we
some
don't
hearts.
want to do.
Yeah. Okay, next up, a few questions about crit actually. In PoE1, it's almost like when you're building a crit build, you're supposed to be 100% crit. Is that the same in PoE2?
I would say that it's kind of more like earlier PoE1, how it used to be, where it's like you can get there with various mechanics, but I would say that it's like it may not be the most optimal thing to do, just because like the stuff you're sacrificing might be too much in order to do that. Yeah. Especially when you've got like conditional crit mechanics, getting to 100% isn't so bad, but like you're not always going to be meeting those conditions, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I would say that like we've tried to kind of keep things a little bit more in line in terms of having more like, as I said, just like controlling the sources a little bit better and kind of making sure that like getting to 100% is actually like a real, like, as I said, possible, but kind of not expected. So I imagine the sort of expected crit would be a bit lower than that. And yeah, trying to increase beyond that is kind of not hugely valuable.
Okay. Where is the streamer looking? At the Twitch chat while watching it on
the main reason they're in
other monitor?
Is that just to like retain player power and not let it
get
out
on the
of
floor?
control early?
Yes.
I wouldn't say that exactly. I think it's more just that.
Does it help if I just do this the entire time while the interview's playing?
Ideally, every mechanic. So like I'm just a general. I am generally in favor of the idea that like there's the decision to not increase something more is not because you run out of sources of it, but because like there's a reason that you don't want to do that because the trade-offs are too much. And so effectively by keeping the values that you're kind of like can easily get to a sort of certain midpoint, you just avoid this, like you just sort of make it so you get that trade-off, like you have to make that trade-off towards the end of the range. So it's effectively like that. I think that's kind of really the main reason. Like it's been a little while since I talked about this with anyone, but yeah, like that's kind of really what it came down to.
We almost finished.
Wanted to make 100% crit more of a like this is a very unusual situation rather than this is a common situation.
Okay. And do you think part of that is as well that, at least in PoE1, crit feels like the end game? Like you should go crit at some point, and you kind of want to avoid that as well? Is that part of it at all, or?
Well, we're certainly trying to make it so that crit is not the only build. There was actually a thing that we changed. So, you know, so here's a random thing for you. We actually had the change for a little while where.
Let me know if this is too loud now.
So crit modifiers, and I need to get this correct. Like there are various crit suffixes in PoE1, and so there was this feeling that in PoE1 that if you're a crit build, you've got like you can make your build more powerful than what non-crit builds can, because the suffixes that are available to you as a crit build are like more powerful than what the suffixes are available to you as a not crit build.
Yeah.
So because of that, we actually decided initially to move crit stuff all to be prefixes as well, to effectively compete with the other prefixes that you could get that all increase damage, right?
Yeah.
And so we did this for a while, and we actually found that like it actually made weapon rolling way less fun. Like in theory, what it was doing was making it so that, okay, you could get a crit weapon or you could get like a not crit weapon, and like they were kind of competing with each other. And like we did all the math and we're like, hey, look, now we've made it so that crit builds and non-crit builds are more in line with each other and they have the same level of power and items and so on. And we kind of thought that we'd done a good thing there. And then at some point we just realized, like, why is it the weapons just don't feel as fun to find in PoE 2 as they do in PoE 1? And then we realized that like this is actually part of the problem. So we actually reversed that decision and moved the crit stuff back to be suffixes again. And we've kind of tried to make sure that the suffix pool is actually reasonable in other ways for the other builds, like making sure that the suffixes are actually like make sense and there's powerful versions of like ideally it's like there should be there should be a level that each suffix can get to that is exciting, right? Like, and so like the question we have to.
But there's never an exciting reason on a weapon, especially as a melee character, to see fucking resistances, right? Like I'm never rolling my weapon as a melee character going, oh boy, howdy, resistances. You know, like outside of like crit and attack speed or like stuff like that, like what the hell is there? Unless I'm supposed to be excited over resistances.
To ask yourself is like, what is an amount of strength that if you got that on, as a suffix that you'd be excited about that?
Yeah.
And so effectively, like we're trying to make sure that there's actually like at the high end there are suffixes that are actually really good. And so hopefully we've restored some of the like possible power that you sort of can get from weapons. And I think that's sort of as I said, I think it's in a better place. I don't really remember exactly how this was related to the original question anymore, but it was just something that came up in my mind.
Does that mean that at the high end, you don't want dead suffixes? Like I remember life regen for a long time and thorns, right? Would be literally dead suffixes.
You still want to have suffixes where when you get them, you need to have bad rolls, right? But at the same time, we did say that like, okay, whatever when you've got the higher
yo, thank you for the resub, bro. Thank you for the 9 months, my guy. That is an absurdly
traffic hype, 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 traffic hype.
I appreciate it greatly, my guy. Thank you very much for the continued support. Welcome on back.
Tier rolls, that there are actually things that like that the highest tier of something needs to be something you actually would be excited to see. Okay. And there are actually a couple of cases where so we the tiering system for mods, so for rares, like you know how when you've got like, you know, T2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5 just goes up to 5, like T5 rares. When you actually, if you actually get a T5 rare, it's actually possible because we haven't got some of the mods like light radius, for example. They don't actually have an eye level. There's no light radius mod that's higher than eye level like 60 something, I think it is. It's probably like the highest one. Yep. It's actually possible that on the highest tier content with a tier 5 rare that the dead mods like that are actually cut out of the mod pool completely. Okay. So it's actually possible that for that to be the case. Now, tier 5 rares are like rare as hen's teeth, right? They're actually like incredibly rare. So when you get one of those,
the Steam friend trolling you specifically, I didn't see what was the name. What are you talking about? Keeps popping up saying somebody's playing in the bottom right corner. That's just Steam notifications. I don't know how to turn them off. No, it's just I have like 400 fucking friends on Steam that are like constantly on playing games. No, it's literally just like people playing games, logging in and out of Steam so I can see my friends that are on. Like it has nothing to do with people trolling, eh? It has everything to do with just like Steam being Steam. It's the same person. Maybe their game's not working. Maybe they're turning their game on and off. Well, I don't know. They need some tech support. Have you never broken your fucking computer before and just turn it on and off a whole bunch of times because you don't know what's going on? It
was like, you know, the mods on those are going to be really, really good because, like, you know that the eye level of the mods you're going to get is like higher
I'm
than a certain
excited
amount.
for that.
Okay, so like that means that there are just like really, yeah, some really good stuff up there. But yeah, it's once again, can't remember where I was going with this, but this is like a thing that exists.
What is this? What is this image? Do you know if I can use Herald Thunder with Rage Support Gem to generate a POE2? We don't know any. I don't know what. What? Sir, what do you ask? What are you asking about POE2? How do you even know? What? What is the link, Mr. Strawberry? Herald has a melee tag and it hits enemies. Do you know that that's how it's going to be when the game is out, or are you just theory crafting based on small information that may or may not be outdated already? Just asking. Maybe somebody knows. Sir, breathe? What do you mean? Take damage when spending mana? Like, I love that you're theory crafting, right? And I love that you're trying to do what you're doing here. But like, I don't know if these are going to be this Friday. You know what I mean? I think it's cool. I think your meme looks cool, but I can't tell you if something will or will not work simply due to the fact that it's just not out yet. Right? And it's not me trying to like not give you guys information, and it's not me trying to like fucking gatekeep information. It's just not out yet. Like, we just don't know. Right? And the biggest example that I keep giving that I guess pisses people off is, look how often like Dream Core's videos get very outdated very fast, right? So it's really hard for me to be how do I want to phrase this? It's really hard for me to like spend time looking at PoEDB and skill gems and how shit works, because every time that I've done it, that skill and that change has been revoked. Every single time. Every single time that I've looked at something or tried to like figure something out or mess around with something, it is just been changed. So it's really hard to like look at shit. You know what I mean? And it's not that I want to like ignore anybody, right? Like, I'm really happy to have these types of conversations with people. It's just, we have so little information about everything. And I know that pisses people off that I don't know, but there's just not, hold on, my shit's breaking. There's just nothing I can do. So. All right, hold on one second. I gotta use the bathroom, and then we'll finish this. One sec. All right. You're good to go.
Exists for the res system. So the that can mean that some of the res you can get at on the higher tiers can be very good.
Awesome. Very, very cool. I'm very excited to hear that. Like items is like my favorite thing in ARPGs, so definitely looking forward to that. I want to continue asking about crit. Enemy crit in Path of Exile 1 can be a little bit weird with, especially like, let's say like the Valspark from like Tynvin or whatever he's called, or the Shaper Balls and stuff, because either the entire ability crits or none of it crits. Is enemy crit functioning similar in PoE2, or is it to the individual projectile?
So I don't think we've made any changes here, but I believe that the way that works is determinable by the designers as they're working on it. But I suspect it's one of those things that they probably don't necessarily always think about, because it's kind of it's sort of somewhat invisible, so it's one of those things that just probably just doesn't come up in their minds. So we can control that, and I don't know whether or not, and as I said, the system works fundamentally the same as PoE1 did. I just don't know to what extent they've actually like used the features that allow them to control one or the other, and what situations that they would want to use one or the other.
Yeah.
Out of interest, do you prefer every mechanic crits, or do you prefer just every projectile? I assume every projectile is what you'd prefer.
I'd way prefer every projectile. Obviously now I usually will end up building for crit immunity instead, and that's fine.
Right.
But I remember when I was a new player to Path of Exile, and suddenly I'd be standing next to the Valspark Exile, and it would just explode, and I'm like, what just happened? And somebody would like watch my clip, and they're like, oh yeah, he crit you, you're gone. Right.
I have a feeling that I mean, I suppose the question would be whether we should make per projectile the default option. It's one of those things that I don't see a reason why we wouldn't. I'd have to talk to Mark about it, but that's probably reasonable. I think that the whole ability critting all at once is the default for some reason.
Yeah.
I think. So I'm pretty sure that if you run into that, it's because the designer forgot to add the stat that makes it so that it's just every projectile to that particular ability. So yeah, that's just kind of one of those random things. But for player skills, it's like one of those things that we really have to think very carefully about, because there are kind of reasons and not. I mean, like one of the ones that is tricky for this is Rain of Arrows. It's like, should every projectile crit, or should every projectile not crit? Now, because right now every projectile has its own crit roll, it means that if you use like Sniper's Mark on a monster, and then you do Rain of Arrows on that monster, then you're almost guaranteed to crit it at some point, just because it hits so many times.
Yeah.
And that means that effectively the Sniper's Mark is like using it with Rain of Arrows is just like a complete win, because you're just incredibly likely to actually trigger that. And so then it's kind of like, well, should we make it instead so that ability is like crit, the whole ability crits or doesn't crit? But then the problem with that is that it just feels super weird. Like there's something odd about the feeling of like I do a critical Rain of Arrows, and then you start to think like, should it look different so you can see that the whole Rain of Arrows is critting? Or I don't know. Like, it kind of just has some weird implications. So we kind of decided not to do it in the end. But there is a reason why we have both the abilities to do in different situations.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I'm definitely a lot less concerned about the intricate workings of how player crit works, because like the monsters aren't gonna complain. Yeah. No, it's a tricky one. Definitely would be a fun.
Well, I mean, look, I would be interested. I should talk to Mark about whether or not we should just have a policy in general. Just everything a monster does is always individual rolls. Like, there might be a reason. There might be a reason he's against that, but I'd be interested to find out.
I'm curious how you feel about bosses, especially critting at all. Personally, I'm a big fan of like everything being static, right? And like not having mods and not being necessarily variable, because like there's some abilities that like, you know, you're basically effectively mathing out what you can tank, and then suddenly you knock you with a big crit, and you're like, oh, never mind.
You're welcome.
So yeah, I'm just curious how you feel about that, like mods and crits on bosses.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, well, okay, so mods. I think it's nice to have mods personally. I think because I like to have situations where you've got the ability to like it gives us an access to, because what having mods does, like on maps and so on, is the ability to make it so that a boss fight can feel different from a different time you fought it, just based on what the mods were. Sure. So I think that stuff's important. That being said, we did like the idea of having the static bosses for the top pinnacle content, just because that is a measuring stick that players can use against each other. So having that be like a static thing is kind of nice.
Yeah.
So that's why I like the mods. As for the crits, I can see your point for sure. Like that is an interesting point. Like, should we crit at all for bosses?
Yeah, I was just curious.
I guess I don't really have I just don't really have like. I honestly don't really have an argument for why they should. To be honest, I guess the main thing would be just to make sure we've got enough variance. But then the answer would be, well, why do players probably don't want the variance? So yeah, I don't know. I find that to be interesting. It's not something that I've really thought about too much, I have to admit. Yeah, like I see your point about not wanting to have the crits for sure. So yeah, it's probably something that I'll have a chat to Mark about.
Yeah, I was just very, very curious about the answer there, because obviously, like, we can just get crit immunity, but the feeling for me there is it almost makes it mandatory.
Right.
And I feel like in general, whenever something feels mandatory, like remember the cast and damage taken Immortal Cold Days and stuff like that, like it usually gets like changed or removed.
Right.
So
I suspect that the answer against this would involve basically like it's another like it's an axis of character development that we're removing. Like that's probably the argument that would be made against it. So then the question is, yeah, like, but I agree with you that if something's mandatory, then it's kind of like, you know, maybe why should it necessarily exist? So yeah, I mean, point taken, right? Like this is an interesting one to me, and I'll talk to the guys about it.
Ziggy wrote something really cool that I like. Let me see if where'd it go? Enemy crits should be conditional buffs you can see to and react to. I think that would be really cool. Like,
right.
Let's say that let's use Shaper Slam as an example, right? That if the Shaper Slam is about to crit, it like changes the animation and becomes maybe a bit slower.
Right.
That would be really cool. Because that does change the fight, but like I love that.
I feel like that's gonna be hard to do.
Interesting. That's interesting. Okay.
It's for me I guess for me the big thing is that like they look exactly the same. You have no idea if it's gonna crit or not.
Yeah. No, I agree. You know, and that's a very good argument. Like it is a very good point. I'd be interested to hear if Mark has any particular reason against that. Maybe he doesn't. Like it is a very interesting point.
Yeah. Cool. More questions about monsters. Do they still get charges? And if so, how do they work?
So charges don't have any inherent bonus anymore.
Yeah.
So therefore monsters don't currently get charges. I suspect it's the kind of thing where we might come up with some interesting thing to use them for in the future. But currently there's just no reason for them to exist, so they just don't get them.
Cool. A lot of people are curious about support characters and how they fit into Path of Exile 2 for those that want to play with their friends.
Oh, they're definitely going to be good.
Combos together.
So I would say it's sort of interesting, right? Because what we don't have is the support character in the way that PoE1 had it, where it was like just a literal kind of AFK. Well, not, you walk around behind and you don't really do anything. So I would say that like for that, like we still have things like that. Like you've got scepters.
My big thing is like, how many more times can we ask? Like, how many more questions can you ask? Right? Like. You know, like you can only ask the same question so many times or so many roundabout ways. We're just milking it. 1,001 more questions.
For a paid early access, I think getting to $1 million would be a very good success. Like that would be crazy. But yet I
want to play with their friends and make OP combos together.
So I would say it's sort of interesting, right? Because what we don't have is the support character in the way that PoE1 had it, where it was like just a literal kind of AFK. Well, not, you walk around behind them, you don't really do anything. So I would say that like for that, like we still have things like that. Like you've got scepters and stuff like that that can give people bonuses. But I would say that support characters in PoE2 are more along the lines of like I'm debuffing monsters actively, or I'm setting up things that that don't need to worry about the damage in order for someone else to take advantage of them. These kind of things. So like. You can make a support character that's going to like ultra slow all the enemies. You can make a support character that will do things like place like place objects that other people can use, or or for example, like make a character that's like armor breaking lots of monsters so that other people can take advantage of that, things like that. So I'd say that like that's kind of the role of that kind of stuff more. But what we don't have is just like I just reserve everything and like, you know, I'm just like an aura, like just a bunch of auras on my character, and that's kind of all I'm doing. So that's the kind of thing that we don't really have in the same way.
Cool.
Awesome. I like that.
I think that generally answers that. Next up, a little bit of a discussion of something that was brought up in a previous podcast. I have in my notes here, talk about respecking ascendancies. I don't know if that's something you've like thought about or talked about more after the podcast with, I believe it was
Unfortunately, Troy? I haven't had a chance to talk more about this. But I mean, look, as I said, it's still on my mind as something that I know players are concerned about. So like we will definitely have another conversation about it for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's really anything else to say about it at the moment.
Perfect. All right. Yeah, that's it. I'm obviously very pro respecting ascendancy. So
yeah,
my argument would just be it's a very early place to make a permanent decision.
Sure, I understand.
Yeah. Okay,
that's a no.
In-game like mapping and things like that.
I understand. How
much more rewarding
we heard your feedback.
Method, like, you know,
we filed it away
or something like that be compared to Chill Ground or Monster Variety.
So I believe that so it's a very different situation in PoE2 than PoE1 for this stuff, because the rewards from difficult mods are not necessarily like the rewarding part of the map mods, because we've got the thing with the prefixes are like the rewards mods and the suffixes are the like bad mods. It means it's kind of separated those two things out a little bit more.
Yeah.
Now there is still a thing where the harder mods have waystone drop rate increases on them, and so I believe I believe that the harder mods there do affect that, but I don't think that is like quite so much of a big deal compared to how it was in PoE1, where like the item drops were heavily changed by that stuff. So like I don't know that, like as I said, it's a very different situation. Now it's this is one of those things that I'm like, I really hope it works, but I don't know if it will. So I guess we'll sort of have to see. Like the dynamics of what people choose to roll and how people respond to that are going to be very interesting. I guess we'll just see how that goes. But what it does mean, at least with the current way the system works, is that it doesn't matter quite so much what the like the numbers we choose for how difficult those things are relative to like the rewards they give, because as I said, the rewards being given are mostly from the prefixes anyway. So yeah, I guess that's kind of related to that.
Cool. Yeah, no, I was just curious because somebody brought up the point that I think it was penetration and Monster Variety had basically the same rewards, so I was curious there. So that'll be interesting to see how that changes. What about things like /letter? Is that going to be the same or different?
Why is that relevant?
It's the same for now. Look, we could probably do better with this. Like, you know, it's funny because before we /ladder was a temporary cheat we added before PoE1 was released as a temporary thing before we added the ladder screen.
Oh.
and then now we're releasing PoE2 and we still haven't implemented the ladder screen. Like, it's kind of absurd how that works. Yeah, we originally intended to have an in-game ladder screen,
like,
and then I guess the website kind of had it, and then we just never got around to actually implementing UI for it. Like, so all I can say is like, okay, it's been 15 years, but we're still intending to make a ladder screen in game one day.
All right, so 15 years from now.
Yeah, sure. At some point we'll get around to that.
Cool. Okay, good to know. And in a similar vein, what about would it be possible at all for the community to get a more detailed API for things like that, like ladder and like making your own tools?
So I'm curious what more you'd want out of the ladder for the API, because effectively I believe that the API we have right now just gives you a full dump of the first, like, I don't remember how many it is it like 10,000 or something people, something like that. There's like some number of people in the ladder that it gives you, and as far as I know, it gives you everything you would need to have. So yeah, what else do you want, right?
Well,
like if you want something else, so you can add it.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my god, we can get you a list. So obviously, like I'm
sure.
Yeah, it's a long time since I started computer science, so I don't have a list in front of me, but things I can think of off the top of my head would be boss kills, for example, right? For the events we do, that is one of the biggest things we want.
Like what? Oh, so you want a ladder for when? Oh, you want like a different ladder for when people have killed a boss?
Not necessarily part of the ladder, just like an API we can access for if somebody kills a boss or something.
So do you mean like, but so like, do you want like how many times they've killed a given boss, or do you want like have they killed the boss at all yet?
Yeah, have they killed the boss at all yet?
I think that we have support for ladders of when people killed a boss, because like, don't we have that for certain events? I thought we did.
Only for the first person, I believe.
I have a feeling that the way that's implemented internally is there's just effectively the amount of time until you kill the given boss, like as a separate ladder effectively. And then that would mean that like you could effectively dump a ladder of that, of like who was the first person to kill a given boss. So that's something we could probably do like relatively easily. I will say we haven't like thought about this for a long time. So
well, I
like,
can
it's one of those things.
I can get you like from like the guy who made PoE Racing and stuff. I can get you a list of like API things that would be huge for us. So obviously, I'm very involved in loving and wanting to do events.
Right. As I said, I think we do have actually like boss time, time to kill a specific boss, but I'm pretty sure that what it is that like that had to be specifically implemented for each boss that we wanted to do it, because I'm pretty sure that the reason why we had that was for like the original race seasons we did, where we sometimes had like different objectives, things like first to kill X boss. So I think it's still lurking around in there somewhere, so we might be able to like resurrect that, and like it would be pretty cool to have a ladder for like first person to kill the pinnacle encounters in PoE2 when it comes out, for example. We might be a little bit too close to be able to actually implement something like that, but like it's possible that it's just like a matter of like resurrecting some piece of code that's been sitting there and turning it on. So I'll actually look into that, because that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, is there going to be any form of like yellow text announcements for like first to level, first to new areas and stuff?
Yes, so I think that we have so the leveling one, I think we only do it every 5 levels, at least for the first while, just because we don't want it to be like super spammy. And for first to enter area, I think that I don't remember exactly how that was going to be. Because there was also some concern. I mean, look, there is definitely going to be stuff like that, but I think that we just wanted to try and reduce the spam a little bit in some cases. Certainly, you want like first to reach level, like past level like 65 or something. You probably want like everything above that to be like every single level, I would say, just because like that's a pretty important race and it takes a bit longer up there. So we've got stuff like that. I don't think there's any first to kill. Well, maybe there are first to kill bosses for the act bosses or something. I don't remember the exact situation, but there's definitely some of that stuff. We just wanted to make sure it didn't seem like completely incomprehensible for like a bunch of new players who are seeing all the stuff for the first time. So we just kind of want to limit it a little bit.
Very cool. I love to hear that.
Before worrying about
question from my community was
well, I mean, it just sounds like he's just asking you for like personal stuff, right? At this point, like the whole gauntlet and stuff like that, right? It's just stuff like this just seems to be an extremely niche thing. So like I get why they're asking, but it's like not as relevant to like the overall like it's not, I don't know, man. Therefore, it is in his smaller niche. There are no new love questions. Small niche is a bit of an understatement. What do you mean? It's pretty. I mean, like it's like the gauntlet's pretty small in the grand scheme of all the players. The gauntlet's massive. Is it though? In the grand scheme of things, is the gauntlet massive? There are over 15,000 players. If one... Okay, hold on. If we have 350,000 people who actively play, right? If we have just say 350,000 that actively play, and we take 15,000 people that play the gauntlet, it is 0.04 or 4%. It is 4% of the player pool. That makes it I mean, he also just said that he was like trying to get the stuff for the PoE racing stuff, right? I mean, I'm not against him asking, right? But I'm saying like it's niche. You know what I mean? It'll help the softcore events too. What softcore events? $84 in this event. Yeah, it's huge. Any that may come up. But like, who cares? I'm in agreement that like I don't think questions like this are relevant to like the release of PoE2. Hold on, I gotta look at something really quick. One sec. Hold on. I got a text from my mom. Do, 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 do. We had more use of player questions. But else did he ask if not about the content he specifically involved is in the community the most? I think Ziz has asked a lot of good questions, but I think like, so we're 53 minutes in, and the last like 15 minutes have all just been like like niche, right? What else you in an email? In an email. Email them. I think the interview ended like 15. I don't know what the rest of the interview is, right? But I feel like I don't know. I just think like the last like 10 minutes have just been very meh. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see how the rest of it pans out.
Are going to be free respecs during the EA if there's a big enough change? Like right now, if there's a huge seal tree change on standard, you get like the free respec.
Yeah.
Because
so I'd say it's probably going to be the same as that effectively. Like when we do a big change, everyone will get a free respec, and it'll work that way pretty much. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Somebody was particularly concerned because if it's respecing is it only gold, or do you have silver regret orbs? I can't remember.
No regret anymore. It's just gold.
Yeah. So the guy I was asking was what if a big change happens and your build is bricked and you've just used your gold? You just log in and you're like, ooh.
Yeah,
Cool.
generally speaking, yeah, it'll be that
The
like
general
the
ladder
big patches that do the big
experience?
balance stuff.
I don't see, like, how do you view the ladder now? You have to go to the website, right? That's how you view the ladder now, besides slash ladder? Because doesn't slash ladder only show you the top 10? PRE racing is dead, though. Watching the favorite streamer struggle and hope they die. Oh, shit. What's wrong? To this, from this. I don't know. I think a lot of his questions have been really good. I'm just not a fan of these. And maybe that's just like a me personal problem. And I think that's fine. I think that's reasonable for me to not like every single question he has to answer, right? And I don't think it's a bad thing. I just, I get it. Is it Friday yet? Nope. Well, let's see what the rest of the interview has to offer first, too, right?
Stuff we should get some. Now that being said, like, I'm not going to say that every single like there will probably be patches where we nerf some particular thing, and then like that could hurt certain characters like that. That'll probably happen.
Yeah.
Just because that I'm hoping not, but you never know.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that might.
This is his specialty, but I feel like it's unfair for me to say that there are more minion players than there are hardcore players or racers, because it's both a niche thing. So I guess if we're upset about the latter, we should be upset about the minions. But I feel like the minion questions were more slated towards in-game mechanics and how things are functioning in the game versus like APIs. So I can see both sides of it. Do. But the ladders in the game too, it's just so outdated. It'd be cool to show off your ladder page. How you killed so-and-so bosses that could affect everybody. I don't think I disagree with you. I don't think I disagree with you. I think I agree, but I think the place where we differ is I don't think this is an EA thing. Right. I don't see how the ladder button in the PoE1 client is relevant to the launch of PoE2. I was the 800. Let's go. Yeah, but I don't. So like, I don't see how. Yeah, I just don't see how it's relevant for early access and information. I think it's, I don't think it's a bad, like, the more I think about it, the more I don't think it's a bad question or like bad information, especially looking at like PoE racing, right? Like, you know, like you open the site and the site just doesn't fucking work, right? I don't think it's a bad thing. I just don't know how relevant it is to Friday. I don't think any of his questions were bad. I just think they were more slated towards a personal agenda. I just want to play PoE on a Friday. I just want all my fucking worries right now to go away. But, you know, whatever. What if the ladder killed your DPS stats? That would mean name and lights in EA and ladder. If everybody started on a level playing field, it would matter. But because not everyone is able to download the game on Thursday night and have it ready for Friday, especially if they're only going to play on Steam. I mean, granted, by their own choice, and PlayStation can't preload and Xbox is already preload. It's all kinds of fucked. But I don't disagree about name and lights. I think name and lights is actually relevant to some, you know? Just go buy a PC.
Then cause a situation where you don't have a free respec for that reason. Yeah. Because what we don't have the ability to do is like targetedly respec like certain builds or anything like that. Like so it's effectively all or nothing. So because of that, the yeah, like it would have to be a more global change to, like, you know, oh look, we've redone the skill tree in various ways, and then we'd probably do it.
Yeah. And I'm guessing you can't go in negative gold, right? You can't, like, okay, Mr. Respect Man, I'll pay you back later.
No.
Yeah, no debt. Cool. Another question from the community is, we've learned that ascendancies and items can be supported. So a logical follow-up is, how many sockets do those start with? Do ascendancy skills starts with 5 sockets? And do items with skills show you how many sockets they have?
So if you have stuff that's inherent to your character, so that is to say, like and ascendancy skills do count as that, or things like so for example, default attack being also a supportable skill. These things get sockets based on your character level. Now, I don't remember what the level is that you get. It's like late 80s. There's like, that's the one where you get 5 sockets for all of those things. But effectively, as you level up, you'll get more sockets for that stuff. The ones that are inherent to items, those ones get sockets based on the eye level of the item. So effectively, a higher eye level base, if that base comes with a socket, that high level eye level base will have the thing. So I don't know if the trade site will show it correctly yet or not, but it is based entirely on eye level, which you can see. The trade site needs that will probably take some time to fully be like 100% like every single thing about it looking exactly the same as in game, just because there's like a whole bunch of work there. But we definitely want to make sure the trade site at least shows you everything that you sort of need to know. So awesome. I don't know whether or not they will be showing the sockets in that are in skills in gear, and I have a feeling it probably won't, because I know that skills in general on the trade site are kind of like a bit like because there's like a ton of work to make them work the same as in game. I think we're just going to be showing like names and levels, so it probably won't show the sockets on the site, but you can know that effectively there's just certain eye levels that the item is that when it does that, and then later on we'll like improve support on the trade site and get everything rendering exactly the same as in game, and then that'll be fine. But there certainly should be nothing on the trade site which you know, you can't know about something that's important for trade, at least, even to start with. Yeah.
Awesome. Quick follow-up on ascendancy questions. A lot of people have asked me to ask, regardless of the answer. Are we going to have like be able to see the full ascendancies before launch?
Good question. I don't know whether that's in the spoiler list or not, actually. What we're not going to have is like support for it on the website, which we were planning on doing because we wanted people to like to just have all that stuff there. But I think we didn't quite get time to implement all that.
The trade site URL, I'm assuming it's on. I didn't mean to click that. That was the wrong fucking button. Oh my god, I'm dumb. I'm assuming it's on pathofexile2.com. Right? I'm assuming once this like updates, we sign in, and then like this will have like there'll be a trade button here. Because this community tab doesn't have anything yet, right? Very similar to like Path of Exile 1. Right? Very similar to how there's like a trade button here. I'm assuming it'll show up there. Good morning. How's it going so far? It's going.
Stuff on the website to get that working. It's possible we can still get them to post the ascendancies early. I'll have to talk to the community team and see whether or not that's planned. We can probably.
Good to see you. Are you playing Friday?
Yeah, I'll talk to the community team and see what their plan is for that.
It is pretty much a 50-50, by the way.
On whether or not people want that?
Oh yeah, a lot of people don't want it.
Right.
Wait, what do people
not
want?
Quite a lot about the ascendancies already, so like.
Questions that a lot of people ask me to ask, regardless of the answer. Are we going to have like be able to see the full ascendancies before launch?
Good question. I don't know whether that's in the spoiler list or not, actually. What we're not going to have is like support for it on the website, which we were planning on doing because we wanted people to like just have all that stuff there. But I think we didn't quite get time to implement all that stuff on the website to get that working. It's possible we can still get them to post the ascendancies early. I'll have to talk to the community team and see whether or not that's planned. We can probably. We might be able to do that. Yeah, I'll talk to the community team and see what their plan is for that.
It is pretty much a 50-50, by the way.
On whether or not people want that?
Oh yeah, a lot of people don't want it.
Right.
I think
we did show quite a lot about the ascendancies already, so like in some ways it's just filling out the remaining stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the argument from people that do want it is that since it is like a hard lock thing, they want to like have a little bit of info there, and obviously most people really are appreciating that like we're going in blind, and that's pretty awesome.
Sure. Fair enough.
I'll talk to the community team and
see how they feel about it.
See you later, man.
So, yeah, we might do it.
Maybe just throw up a poll and see what more people want. But yeah, another question is Lowlife 50%?
No, it's 35. It's actually back to how it used to. It's back to how it used to be, and the reason is because that was changed up to 50% mostly because of all the reservation related stuff in POE1, which is not a concern anymore. So that means low life can be 35 again, and
So what do you mean Mama called?
Okay.
That restores that to how it was before.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I was really curious about them. We were trying to figure out what it was. Cool. Force move, is that something that can be a keybind instead of taking up a skill slot?
So it works the same way as PoE1. I guess that the thought with that is just like most people probably want force move on left click anyway, right?
Not necessarily.
I mean, I guess maybe not. Like I suppose we could change that, but hang on, can't you? Okay, so can't you change like? Because you know the skill binds that are like control W and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like you can control you can change those to not be using control, right?
Yes, you can change all your keybinds. The main issue for a lot of people right now is they would like to have in just keybind settings force move to be like whether you put it on mouse button 1 or not. Right now it's costing you a skill slot, and we're already a little bit for some builds a little bit short on that.
I would have thought that when you include the control, like they're more inconvenient, but like the control Q, control W, that kind of stuff, those ones, like, are you really using all of those as well? Because I feel like you could just use the like skill slot 10 or whatever the last one is, like at the end there, and then use that one as your force move, and then just rebind it to something that doesn't require precision control. And then if you do that, you should be able to use that. But like, I mean, I guess there's no real reason we couldn't change it to not use a skill slot potentially. But I guess I figure that it's not usually a problem at the moment if you're able to do that.
A lot of people want that for sure.
Okay, interesting. Well, I mean, look, I'll table it with the UI guys and see if they want to do it then.
Yeah. Also, pretty small sample size, but I polled the people watching on Twitch right now, and 77% are saying they do want to know. I actually thought it would be more people against.
Interesting.
Yeah, so.
Nobody wants to know the ascendancies on Friday.
Interesting data point to have.
Yeah. Yeah, curious.
Just wait.
Right. I would like to hear a little bit more about towers and like buffing the maps and like...
Yeah, sure.
If you can talk about that a little bit, because a bit before... the vibe I was getting as a player, it's felt a little bit like synthesis like, where I would be like trying really hard to maximize my area and buffing it up, and that could maybe sound a little tedious. So yeah, I would just love to hear you talk about towers more.
Yeah, so effectively, so you unlock towers. The towers are, there's quite a few around, so you can always like, and the radius is actually quite large. And what that means is that generally speaking, the amount of things that get added, like the amount of breaches, for example, that you add when you use a breach tablet, generally speaking, you're going to be there's more in radius that could receive the breach than the number that than the number
than the number that's going to be added. It doesn't seem like we have all 10 skills in PoE2.
For that reason, like 'cause I know there was some concern, that we had initially that like, because you have to like run maps to get to the tower in the first place, you're effectively consuming some of the maps you would have been able to use, you know, that would have gotten buffed. And that is true, but because the radius is so large, and because like the number that they'll add, of breaches it might add might be like 6 or something, or 6, 7, something like that. It means that generally speaking, there'll always be more maps in the radius than there will, even ones you haven't run yet, than what you add.
Okay.
In terms of adding them to overlapping stuff, like because there's overlapping towers, you can still get a situation where like you want to try and maximize this.
Yeah.
But yes, you can only add one, use each tower one time. So effectively, like you want to find the tower, like go to it, add whatever mechanic you're adding, find some nearby towers potentially if there are nearby ones. Use those as well. Like add them all, and then once you've done that, you get the overlapping radii for the mods, and then you run them. So effectively works like that.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, if you've got any specific questions about it, I can certainly answer them.
Can you use towers multiple times?
No, you can't. So just one time each.
Honestly, it's hard because again, I haven't played, which I love. I haven't played. I would just like, do you like it? Like, is it fun? Like, is it something you're confident that you think?
Bro, he made it.
I think it's pretty fun.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty fun, but it's kind of like, look, it's one of those things we'll just have to see how it works in some ways. Like, what we don't really know is like what the long-term feel of it is. Like when you actually really ramp everything to like max, and with but like what's the steady state like once you've reached the like point of just grinding forever? And that I sort of have a hard time knowing. Like we haven't done like. The amount of time we need to invest to be able to really test that is like more than what we have, so it's kind of hard for us to know that. But the actual, just like when you just play it normally, like it's cool, like it does work well, and I'm enjoying that. The hard part, yeah, as I said, the hard part to know will be like once you've got infinite resources and you could just like you know, you've got as much as that. Will it feel bad then? And I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
I'm hoping not though. There are generic tablets as well, by the way, that don't relate to a specific mechanic. And those ones like add more general mods that just sort of affect all maps. So that's another thing as well, just so you know. So we've got that too.
That's very fun.
And I am sure that we're going to be playing around a lot with the mod pools and other things like this, and sort of like, you know, like affecting the juicing experience is definitely something that needs a lot more actual testing to really know like how far that goes and how well it works. I'm sure that will be an area that receives heavy balance as we're going through.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of doing early access, I guess.
Right.
I was yesterday on a podcast called Dropped Frames, and Ko and JP asked Ezekiel to make them a question for today's podcast that I said I would ask them. And Ezekiel asked, why was it a conscious choice to make the game more difficult than PoE1?
Is it though?
So,
but is it though? Do we know? Like, what? That's an interesting question from people who have, like, I don't know if they have or haven't, but like from like an outsider group, right? It's interesting.
See, I guess I don't know that I would say that the conscious choice was to make the game more difficult because that makes it sound like the goal is we're going to make it more difficult. Whereas what the goal was to make the combat more engaging. And on some level that did make the game more difficult, but I wouldn't say that was like, this is what we're setting out to do, if you know what I mean. It's like we're setting out to make the combat good. And to me, at least, good combat involves some level of challenge. And so that's kind of what you end up with. So yeah, I guess that's kind of...
He's never bragged that the game is harder. He's bragged that the combat, like he just said, he's always bragged that like you need to be more conscious of your decisions inside of fights, right? And you need to like, I don't want to say get good, but he's always made it like, if you're doing this fight, you can't just stand still. You have to like actually do something. Yeah, it's more engaging than mindless, right? So like more engaging doesn't mean that it's like harder. It just means you have to do shit you probably weren't prepared to do the first time. What snacks are we binging Friday? I'm broke. I can't afford anything. I just got my bill. I owe too much money. I can't afford snacks. We're starving. We got to do subathons and fucking dance-a-thons and sub goals, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm eternally freaking out. True story, not fiction. Smiley to P1 because it's easy. It does sound like pinnacle bosses may not be reachable by some folks, but that's fine though. It's pinnacle content for a reason, right? Like, right. Like, if you can't make it to a pinnacle fight, like, figure it out. And if you don't want to figure it out, like, eat too bad. And I don't want to say like eat shit, but like it's, you know. Mark said the game is hard, but when is the game hard? Is the game hard in the campaign? Is the game hard post-campaign? Like, when is the game hard? Like, when do we start to suffer? I knew it. I knew it.
Kind of what that's what it really comes down to. It's just, yeah, like that's just, it's a natural part of that.
Cool.
I think that's really what it is.
Yeah, engaging combat. That makes sense. A cat in the community asked, will every attack from rapid fire give stacks of tips?
They don't want it to be a game you play while watching a movie? I don't think it, I mean, like, can you blame them? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's a bad thing, but I get it, but I don't know if that's a bad thing.
Tailwind?
So it currently does. I know there was a discussion happening about this. One of the designers was unhappy about it, and so I think that I know there was a discussion recently that I haven't heard the result of about what's going on with that.
Which is why the question asked, why isn't
I
that
don't.
bad?
I actually can't answer what the final state will be because I don't know. It depends on what they went off and did. But there was a discussion about it for sure. It was a balanced concern. That's what I know.
Yeah, I think that's why they were curious. So I've seen a lot of theory crafting and stuff. Yeah, so we have a few more Reddit questions here. I think we have a few thousand questions from Reddit, so I've just tried calling down. Good. This was one I found very interesting, and it was it's pretty rare to see someone so motivated after doing something for so long. Can you talk about what makes you so motivated?
I don't hate my life. I'm not a miserable fucking 20-year-old. I don't fucking live on social media. I want to off myself every 4 fucking seconds because Jimmy fucking called me fat. I like what I do. It's easy to stay motivated when you're not a miserable fuck. But then again, I mean, life sucks, right? Like, life sucks. But, like, you gotta put yourself in positions where life doesn't suck.
I guess for me, I just want to make, I want to actually make a game I'm happy with, and until I've actually done that, I think I won't be happy. You know what I mean? Like I just want to keep going. Like I was never fully happy with PoE1. There was always more to do. It's always like that's just we're still not in a good place yet. And yeah, I want to make that perfect action RPG.
I think this is really good. Yeah.
So I'll just keep going until I've achieved that, right? And maybe that's impossible to like make something really truly perfect, but like I guess I'm just ultimately motivated to fix things. Like I want, I just want everything to be perfect, and so we keep going until we get to that point, which maybe isn't possible. As far as I know, that's what's driving me really.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's a great answer. I mean, it's very like talking to you as well. It's very fun. So it's great. Keep it up. Next question is does hardcore still go to softcore?
Yes.
I think thinking about what you said about his answer being wholesome, I think one of the reasons why GGG is so successful is because we saw this too, even with Chris, right? Like when Chris would speak, he was so passionate about the game, and he was so passionate about like the changes they were making. And like you see Jonathan talk, and you see Mark talk, and even like when they did ExileCon, and I'm gonna butcher his name, but like Rishi, right? I think that's how it is, right? Like Rishi is how you say his name. Like even like the audio guys, like when everybody in the company sat down and talked about the game, they just really like what they're doing. They're just very passionate about what they're doing, and that helps so much, right? Like to really enjoy what you're doing, and that's some bullshit AAA product. Exactly. Yes. And like I understand, because like I love, like, for example, what I do, right? Like turning the stream on every day and making the YouTube videos and stuff like that. It's more than just a job, right? Like it's something that like I genuinely truly enjoy. And when I have the opportunity to be here every single day and I get the support from you guys, it makes it worthwhile. And like seeing the progression of the stream, seeing the stream grow, seeing like you guys interact and feeling comfortable enough to like tell me when there's a problem, to like fix a community problem, and like just overall like all of the upsides to like building something awesome. Granted, I'm not building a video game like GGG is doing with Path of Exile, but like I get where they're coming from, and seeing the want and the like, not the need per se, but like the drive to make it better, and never feeling like it's good enough, and that like not good enough, but like the you always want to do more for the people, and you always want to do more to make whatever it is your product is, or your game, or your environment, or community better. You always want to just do more. And it's really easy to stay motivated even when like times are tough, because like it's just what you want, right? You're just happy to be here. You're just happy to keep creating what you're doing, or making like the product that you're doing or the game or the environment. So I get where he's coming from, and I like his answer of like, he's just not that he's not happy, but it could be better. There could be more. There could be something. And it just shows that like he's just pushing and striving for better. And it's rewarding and nice, and it makes me feel good too, because like it shows that like my logic of like how I treat the stream is very similar to like how they're treating their company. And it's kind of cool to see, you know? I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm not, but you know, I don't know. I just wanted to say that.
So it works the same as PoE1.
So effectively, like I was thinking about actually starting softcore this time, but I could effectively just start playing on hardcore, die, and just continue on softcore then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'll do that then.
Yeah, sure. I mean, hopefully that will happen by the time you're like 3 areas in. So
okay,
but we'll see. But we'll see. We'll see.
Damn. All right. Oh wow. So like, yeah. How hardcore rival do you think it is for your first time?
I think that would be. I think it probably would really not be hardcore viable, just because there's going to be mechanics on bosses that you're going to need to learn. That being said, look, I mean, you can with enough grinding and like, you know, if you're just like, if you really over prepare for everything, right? You obviously can be very, you know, you can be successful. But
I don't know why I typed the word
you're playing at a regular pace.
Yeah.
Like, you know, bosses will kill you just due to like, you know, learn the mechanics. Like there are things that are subtle about them, and you know, you have to work them out. Or, you know, like obviously like you've never seen like everything is very well telegraphed. But like if you don't know what it's telegraphing, you know, like until you've seen the ability one time, you know, what I would say is if you were like playing behind someone and every single boss fight you like watched a video of someone playing it first before you fought it.
I don't know what, like I'll admit I'm a little distracted today. You know, I got an email that's like really like distracting the shit out of me because of real life expenses and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I just had that entire conversation, and like my brain, I read his message where he's like, he wants to create a modern day Diablo. And like for just a minute, I just zoned out, and I was just like, I'm just going to type back to him. And I'm like, why would I fucking, I could just talk. So.
In hardcore,
yeah.
I think you could probably do it that way, but where's the fun in that, right? Like you want to experience all the stuff for the first time yourself, so that I would say you can do. So very cool. Yeah, that's I would say play softcore your first time, or at least play hardcore and die, and then play softcore the rest, and you should be all right.
Yeah, no, I was actually like bouncing between which one I should do, and then it was finally Ben that convinced me that I should play softcore because of server issues, and I think that obviously that is something we're all concerned about. So.
I have a feeling like if there are server issues, it probably won't be that like it's like lag server side on the individual like on an individual instance. It's much more likely to be like back-end problems, which like boot off to, you know, 100,000 people get booted off kind of thing. Right. That's kind of like a different type, you know, rather than like a you know, like, oh, it's just crappy performance. Like I would hope anyway. I mean, you never really know, but like I just have a feeling it was much more likely to be those kinds of problems, like the like horrible back-end issue that I have to get up before at 2 a.m. to work out, rather than the like just slow grind.
Yeah. How?
But, yeah. Hopefully we're able to solve that issue.
How confident are you feeling?
Like, it's hard. Apparently, not very. If I'm, if I'm saying like that, the issue is just like, you know, I really have no idea how many people will turn up on day one. Like we can look at supporter pack sales and we can say like, okay, well, there's at least this number, but on day one, you know, we're not sure. And the other thing as well is that there are things like, what's console going to be like? I just don't know really, like how many people will turn up there. It's really hard to say. It's very hard to feel confidence even though we're doing a bunch of testing and things like that, just because, like, you know, as I said, it's a new game, you never know what's going to happen. Like launches are just like notorious for like random issues, right? And
worse than
it's not for lack of people trying.
If it's worse than Ultimatum League launch, it's not because they didn't try. It's literally because 1 million people bomb the fucking server at the same time, right? Like, to be fair, like, you know, more blood in my muscles and brain. In order to reach peak performance, last part is to find sepsis, if you know what I mean. Oh, man. How can I log on my PS5 with my PC account? Is there any word on how to do that yet? Not to my knowledge of how to do that. I haven't looked into that simply because I'm not on console. I do know PlayStation will have their supporter pack download 24 hours before League launch, so Thursday afternoon. Too bad they made the game look too good, not the price they pay. If the launch is terrible, I'm gonna be happy because GG means tons of people will be playing. Like, I don't want it to be bad. I want it to I want to be able to log in, but I want the game to be like really successful, you know? So I'm DotCap's confirmed and not. Well, DotCap, DotCap was a coding limitation the first time because of how coding was done fucking however many years ago, right? Like, it's a whole new world now, right? Spend mirrors on your build? Oh no.
To make sure that, like, it's not like we're like, oh, just cheaping out on servers or something like that, right? Like we will do our best to get as much as we can, but you just never know what kind of a random
after I get caught up financially.
The sucky thing about it is, like, you can make some really subtle mistake somewhere and it results in like a huge amount of chaos for the players because like you go over some weird threshold and you get some deadlock or some random thing happens and it just everything dies. And so yeah, that kind of stuff really sucks. I really hope we can do well. I mean, the nice thing is, at least, is that it's all based on PoE1 backend stuff. Like, that's been tested to a pretty reasonable degree by this point.
Yeah.
I think we can do okay. But on the other hand, we may get more players than what our backend has ever dealt with before. Yep. And I think it's very, very likely at this point that will happen. As I said, you can never really know.
Ark.
I don't know if you're like comfortable sharing a number you're prepared for, but like, are you prepared for like 1 million players, for example? If that's something you're
well, a million is how many is what we're prepared for as far as instance capacity goes.
Okay.
That's crazy.
We also are prepared to increase that as well, like in terms of just like talking to cloud vendors and stuff like that about like, what if we go over this? Like, do we have a plan for how we're going to scale up? Like that kind of stuff. So 1 million is the capacity that we'll have on day one, like before we know how many people we're going to get. And my hope is that that'll be enough.
Huh.
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure we'll get it in 1 million. I don't think it's going to go. I think the chance of going above 1 million is pretty low, honestly. But you never know. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
I think, as I said, I think the chance of going above that is pretty low. Just because bear in mind, it is paid, right? It's not like okay. Let me say this on our full release when it's free. Like, I think the numbers will be much higher than 1 million. I think that's going to be very, very high, like absurdly high. But for a paid early access, I think getting to 1 million would be a very good success. Like that would be crazy. But yet I think that we might be on the way to it for sure.
Yeah.
As I said, 1 million is what we're. Because of the fact that we're like, we want to make sure we don't screw this up, 1 million is what we're getting for instance.
Usually League launches have like 3, I think the latest record for the last League was like 300,000 people. I think Settlers was like 300,000, 350,000 people logged in for Settlers on day one. I know it's somewhere. I know we can like look it up somewhere. I know they made the announcement too. I want to say it's like 300 or 350,000 people. So it's like double. And the league before that was like 250. Is it 1 million across all platforms? I don't know. They gave out close to 1 million keys. Well, they haven't even done the PlayStation keys yet. Like, PlayStation sales haven't even opened yet. PlayStation sales don't open till Thursday. You can't even buy it yet. So they might be like that might be a factor, right? That's crazy then. I'm assuming that my guess, based on everything I saw, was it probably close to 1 million. I don't know if it's going to be over 1 million. But they know, like, they know, right? They know how many keys have been reclaimed or claimed, right? Like, they know how many, like, they fucking know how many accounts they gave access to, right? So for him to be saying they're prepared for 1 million, like, they have to have some kind of supporting data for that, right? He's not just not pulling a number out of his ass, right? Keys sent versus how many bought? They have to project. It's not a close. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
Instance capacity. When I say instance, by the way, I'm talking about the actual servers that individual players play on, as opposed to like the back end, which is like where all the, you know, which is the scaling challenge that's much more hard to know.
Cool.
Now, as far as like testing, like testing the back end and making sure it can work, the hard part there is like, can you simulate player numbers, like correctly enough to actually know what's going on? So we've got a synthetic test that goes up to 1.6 million in the back end before it falls over, and we want to try and improve that to 2 million before we launch, just so that we like can be like okay. But the thing is that that's a synthetic test, right? Like we don't, like, we write a bot that simulates what a player does, but like what if we're just wrong about that? And like people, you know, and there's all sorts of numbers that you can play around with, like how often do people change areas, and how often do people, like, how many items do people pick up and not pick up, and like we don't really know the numbers for that. And we can look at PoE1 and we can kind of assume that they're similar, and we can try and kind of like get things to like some kind of real world situation, but then it'll just be some other random thing we don't even think about.
What were the D4 launch numbers? I don't remember. They did talk about it though.
About that, like players end up doing that we just don't even, that can cause the issue. So the other thing as well is like, what if we just didn't like, okay, so sure, we wrote it to that many players like as a test, but there could be like even more subtle elements. Like here's a random example we did think about, but like just to sort of give you an example of the kind of subtlety that happens here. So we have processes in the backend called instance managers, which like deal with like effectively they just like know where all the instances are, like all the game instances are, and like if they fall over, you know, like if they're keeping track of them effectively. And we've got more than one of these, but like
the D4 beta
to
numbers?
know which one to contact, you need to know.
Is it really that hard to believe that this game might be that successful on Friday? Like, is that a thing? Like, you know, like, I don't think it's that hard to believe that this game might actually be this successful. Kinda. But what would lead you to believe that it's not as successful? Like, you're addicted to it for a reason, right? Like, you're playing it for a reason, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, every stream I've watched not involving this game, literally everyone. I've said this a couple times. I have a friend, and you guys might have met her yesterday or noticed yesterday, but my friend Deps, who hosted us yesterday, plays Warframe. Like, she does fashion frames. Like, as in, like, she picks a Warframe and does a fashion show, right? Like, that's her niche. And she plays things like Valheim with her community, right? That's her niche. And she is logging on. You'll donate $100 to me? I hope to fuck. I'm $2,000 in the hole thanks to lawyers. Bring it on, baby. Fucking give me the hundo. I heard fashion frames. Yeah, man. She does fashion frames. That's her niche. And she's logging in, right? Like, she's logging in. And then I've got another friend, Karen, who all she does is fucking Black Desert Online and Torch and Liberty, and she's logging in, right? You know what I mean? Like, these are people who don't play Path of Exile, you know? Like, I'm assuming everybody here has either played Path of Exile or knows of it, minus Eviana. I know Eviana's not playing. But, like, these are people that, like, don't play at all, and they're playing it. I mean, you have, like Forsen was playing it. Like, that is crazy. You know? Like, if I pull this up, right? Like, if I pull this up right now. What up, man? What up? This is a D4 guy who's coming over. This is a D4 guy who's coming over. This is a fucking BDO player. Ellie's a BDO player. Rob's a D4 guy. I mean, all right, yeah, Rack, sure, right? He's already playing it for a while, but he's a P. Yeah, but like, you're talking about him bringing like 2,000 people, 1,500 people, 1,000 people watching non-PoE players, right? And I don't even know who's in the Path of Exile directory right now. But there's 10,000 people watching PoE right now. This is not. I don't know who the fuck this. First full playthrough. Who is this? Who is this? Not like saying it in a negative way. Like, I've never heard of these people, right? These are people outside of the bubble of things. I know who Forsen is. I used to watch Forsen all the time. But, like, I don't know who these people are, right? I don't know what games they come from, what worlds they come from. Like, this is like FPS tag deception, right? And this is an outdoor travel guy, right? Like, you're talking about people who have probably never played, you know? It's a Tarkov player. But that's the point, right? We're talking about people who have, like, you've probably never, unless you're in Tarkov, know who they are. Right? And that's not including like some of these other guys that like have smaller audiences, right? Look, day 3, rookie player prepares for POE2. Like, he's a smaller streamer for sure, but like, this is like, you're talking about a first time player. POE story playthrough, first time player. Like, just looking at the directory, returning to POE after years, returning, POE noob, right? Still learning. You know, like, you can see it firsthand by just like looking how many people are just like logging in for the first time. It's crazy. And like, they would, if they were sponsored, right? If these were sponsored streams, like if this person was playing right now, if this person right here, this person was playing right now, this title would have sponsored in it, right? Like, if this person was being paid to play right now, if they were being paid to play right now, they would have sponsored in their title. Same thing with Forsen, right? This guy would have like, you would have to put sponsored, like, if they were paying right now, if they were being paid right now to play, they would have to have sponsored in their title because they have to be transparent about it. What up, Onyx? So, like, it's not unreasonable to think that the game is going to do well. So, the other thing, too, is, like, if you think about it, right? Do they have to, though? They have to. Yeah. Yeah. They have to. If you're yeah, there's like some FDA laws. Yeah. So whenever I do like a bounty stream or a sponsored stream, you have to put sponsored in the title. Yeah. Because if you get paid to do something and you don't like advertise that it's paid, it's like it's like there's some rules with like misleading people about why you're doing certain things. Yeah, there's a lot of rules. So I don't know. We'll see. They own a website or you're promoting. You have to, yeah, this is why there's so much shit with like other sites doing things, right? Because these streamers, they have sponsored their title, but it's for other stuff. Usually you just have to say that the stream is sponsored. Even on YouTube. Yeah, when I upload, let's see if I can find it. Hold on, I'll see if I can show you guys. Yeah, so I uploaded a video today, right? And I have to let my video contains paid promotion, like a product placement, sponsorship, or endorsement. So like when I upload videos, I have to let people know that there's some, like I have to mark it in there. Otherwise, if they find out, I get in like serious trouble. But you don't have like if they're doing like 10 sponsorships and they just put like exclamation point sponsor, that just covers them. Right? Or hashtag sponsored, that just covers it. You know, right? You know what I mean? Like you don't have to be like, I have this sponsor and this sponsor. Like you don't have to like put every single one. You just go, this is a sponsored stream. So it's pretty common, man. Getting sponsored by POE2 is a win. I mean, that'd be pretty cool. That would definitely be pretty cool. I'd be for it. So we got the hiccups. I'm sorry. It's got a 5/5 lightning fast. That's like 4 high runes. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Bet the top Diablo guys are sponsored. They would have to tell you that they are being sponsored right now to play. If they are playing right now, they are playing on their own free will. Look how often like Shroud does a stream. Shroud, you see it all the time when Shroud does a stream, right? Your sponsors want you to call them out on Friday. Probably on Friday. I would bet there's going to be tons of sponsored stream on Friday. Oh, without a doubt. Of course. Sponsors also have like weird call outs. So like depending on your contract with your sponsor, they're going to want different things. So like very recently I was approached by Raid Shadow Legends and I wasn't going to do it, but now that financial things have changed, I'm probably going to do it. And like, for example, the Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship is like, you have to like do a call out to Raid and like the people to download the game like X amount of times per stream, or you could do it like X amount of times per hours. So like over the course of a stream, you say how much they offered? I don't know. It wasn't like a whole lot, but I mean like $100 is $100, you know what I mean? A lot of sponsorship stuff is a lot of sponsorship stuff, especially like mobile games, you get paid if like people download the game. That's why you see like the trackers on the screen, because like if you were to do like say Raid Shadow Legends and it had like say 0 of 30 people downloaded it, you would get paid per download. But each sponsor is different, right? Sometimes you do a flat rate, sometimes you do downloads. I would never do. Listen, when fucking you fucking listen, bro. The problem is Raid pays all, but everybody. I'd do if it's $50 sponsorship. Yeah. So if you guys see a Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship in the next couple of days, it's because I gotta pay a bill. I'm sorry. Or we do a subathon. I don't know. How do you do OnlyFans, bro? Dude, I'm not kidding. Like, I'm actually serious when I say like like fuck. We'll see. Maybe there's be more YouTube videos. Never say never. $20 is $20. $20 is $20. Gotta do what you gotta do. Yes, sir. Dad bods in, I would bet you make money. Oh, baby. If you were to do content when you were stuck in certain places and show how others to escape, what do you mean? Subathon, 24-hour stream, 2K to play Magic, 4K to play DBD. Oh, Jesus. How are you feeling about all the classes? I feel like there's a good balance with LRs. That seem busted. I'm just excited to try everything, dude. I don't think there's a class that's made me like go, ugh. I think every single class so far that I've seen has always made me go, ooh, you know? Even this morning, I was like looking at all the classes. I don't know if you saw the video I did this morning, but I did a video this morning where I like just went on Path of Exile 2. I literally did a video this morning where I was just talking about things you need to know for Friday. And I just like scrolled down and I just like clicked through the classes to just give an overview and just like every single one looks so damn cool. Yeah, I did a video of like things you need to know for Friday and like make sure you remember you can't respec your ascendancy and you know, like stuff like that. Give it a watch, please. Please. Are you sure you release a class that was special, not the basic ones? Well, I mean, like mercenary is like special, right? Mercenary is pretty special. Like you don't have anything like a mercenary right now. And Gemling or Gemineer, the fucking Gem guy is pretty special, right? You don't have anything like that guy right now either. You know, technically they're special. Technically they're newer and different. That was a great video for people coming in fresh from other places. Thanks, man. I'm trying to create more content like that. So I also think that putting my face on there is probably smart, even though I hate doing that. Ready for something new? I wish I knew how many hours I had in PoE1, man. I'm super duper ready for them to release Druid. Me too. I want to play Druid pretty bad. I'm usually not a big Druid kind of guy, but I definitely kind of really want to try it. It sounds like and looks like it could be a lot of fun, so I'm in.
No, like you need to have something to work out like what is the thing that like that will tell you like which instance manager I should be talking to whenever I'm going to go to a new area. And so that we shard this based on the area. the area index. And the thing that we realized recently was that, like, when everyone plays the game initially, they're all going to be in the same area. They're all going to be.
Also, that interview, by the way, when remember the other day, I don't know if you were here for it. Remember the other day when Jonathan did the interview and it was in Korean? I found out that he was being interviewed by Kakao Games. Like, that wasn't just like some like random fucking Joe Schmo out in Korea. Like some random like fucking like small thing in Korea. That was Kakao Games. Like, that's massive. That's actually massive. So like, that's a huge, huge, huge audience. I was wondering, yeah, me too. I was wondering too, and I found out it was Kakao Games. And I was completely blown away. I couldn't believe it. I was blown away when I found that one out. It's crazy because like there's no I don't know about you guys, but I haven't seen like commercials for Path of Exile 2, right? Do I still get a standalone key? Okay, so this is how it works. Your key on the website is only there to allow you to add the game to Steam and Epic. When you go to, and this is one of the things that I was showing in the video today, if I were to go to pathofexile.com, right, and I were to go to my account, and I were to scroll down to early access, I don't want to leak my fucking key, right? This will tell you that you're able to log in. Your early access also includes keys to play in Steam and Epic, which can be claimed below. You have no key there? That means they ran out of keys. That means the keys are gone already again. You got to wait for the next batch. Right? So you have access. If this is on your account, you can play on the client, like the standalone client. The keys too. I did today. The video is today. It went out today. Also, it tells you underneath the key. I did the video today. It literally tells you on your key, it says, please note this key only unlocks the client in your library and will not provide you early access to your account and should not be given away. Yes, I did the video today. What up, Sammy? The video today tells you how to get the key, where to download it, how you're going to buy it, when you can download the early access, things to know about Friday, explanation of like why you should be picking up bases, very basics to like crafting and understanding that you should be using your currency. It's got all kinds of good information and it's short. It's like 15 minutes. It's 15 minutes with chapters so you can jump to what you want. How do I install it on Steam? Click this chapter. What are bases? Click this chapter. What are the ascendancies? Did you just like give your key out? Holy fuck. I hope you claimed it before doing that. Holy God. I timed it out so that so that people can't. Don't give your key to people. Don't post your key. It's a Rickroll? Oh my God, I'm dumb, dude. I didn't know. I was just trying to protect you. Takes me back to the POE1 website. It's okay. I mean, I just see a lot of people who say a lot of insane shit, and sometimes it wouldn't surprise me if somebody didn't realize to not post their key. I see a lot of listen, I have learned that even the smartest of motherfuckers can do dumb shit, man. Myself included. I have learned that even the smartest of people can do dumb shit. Also, I'm slightly distracted because of real world stuff. I'm sorry. My bad.
Starting in what's called G11, which is like the first area of the game, and then a bunch of those people, like there'll be a very similar amount of time that people will take to get from there to the next area.
Yeah.
And so that means that everyone will go from there to like the next area. And so that means like all the load's going to be on one of these instance managers, and then all the load's going to move to a different instance manager. It's all going to happen at the same time, which means there's actually like the thing with having more of these is like completely defeated by just the way that will happen on launch. And like that's not something that our load test would immediately notice, because like we kind of have to think about how the actual players will actually be behaving on release day to be able to see that kind of issue. So like that's one we did think of, but like there could be 200 other things like that we didn't think of that like, you know, could result in problems. And so this is the kind of stuff that like, you know, as I said, that you just never expect in the back end. So this is probably like way too much detail, and like I'm being way too
I love the
here,
transparency. It's really great.
But okay, but anyway, as I said, that's the kind of issue. So I'm hoping that whatever it is like really obvious, like whatever problem we do run into is like really obvious to us, so we can just fix it. But it's because the part that really sucks is like the thing fell over, like there's no crash, there's no like thing, it's just a bunch of people got disconnected, there's no logs, there's nothing for us to even latch onto it. That's like the really horrible type of issue that I really hope we don't run into. You know, you never know. We'll see what happens. I'm hoping it will be okay.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, you could just do a surprise launch right now. Then there won't be like no one's expecting it. You just
well, there was somehow I don't think that's a good idea. So I guess what'll be really interesting to see is how big do the queues get on like yeah, that could be scary. But I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be okay.
I'm excited.
Is South Park still a thing?
Awesome. Thank you so much for the transparency there. That was more in depth than I was expecting, and yeah, love it. A question about ExileCon. Are there going to be more ExileCons? Will there be one before or after release? Like, what's the vibe there?
So we were actually originally planning to have one next year, and as it got closer, we were just like, man, do we really want to? Are we really wanting to be having to deal with another ExileCon this close? Like it's like, you know, we're pretty tired right now.
It's a lot of work.
I don't know if I can actually, it's a lot of work, and it is like a huge amount of work. So we're kind of like, you know what, we're not going to do one in 2025, so we'll think about the year after that. But we were, as I said, we actually originally like had made a booking and everything of like the venue, and we're actually keen. But then when we really looked at it, we were like, I worry that we're going to be like close to like to like if we're like really close to the release at that point when that would have been scheduled, that could just be really like too much load on our studio all at one time, because running an ExileCon really is like, it is a crazy amount of work for the whole studio. Like it's just a huge amount of stuff. So I am almost certain we'll have another one. I just don't think we're just not gonna have one next year, just because it's
that's
gonna be
reasonable.
Too much going on, I think, for our studio.
I think that's
it's really fun to run them, like even though it's all that work, like it is really fun to run them, and like having all the community there, like it's a really fun thing. And like if we had infinite resources, then having ExileCon right before the full release would be like the most amazing marketing opportunity, right? Like that would be great. But then the idea of having to do all of that and also get the release out at the same time,
cool. What's that mean?
It's just too much. I just don't think we'd be able to do it.
That makes sense. It's a lot of work. Question again about bosses. Is every single boss going to be you die once and it's over? Like, you know, you collect 300
for Friday
or whatever.
Right. So we've actually had quite a lot of conversations about this topic. With the 300 splinters thing, just to, by the way, is like they do come in stacks, so it's not like you have to fight 300 breaches to do that. But this was definitely a question. Should we allow more portals for some of these bosses? Because, like, you know, it's like the first time that you save up, the first time you're going to fight it, and then you just die instantly to some ability, and like, is that okay? And there were definitely some arguments about this. But we eventually decided that, we are going to leave it as one death for those bosses, just because
so the service might get some
we just want to make sure
in?
that there's integrity in the, like in the boss fight, that you actually did actually have to kill it from top to bottom.
It is a day one preload, yes, sir.
It is one of those things, though, that like if it really was a problem, I guess we could readdress it. But like I think we're pretty keen to go with just one death, even for those for the time being.
Cool.
But yes,
very interesting.
There was a lot of argument about it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like I'm gonna be hardcore hopefully most of the time. So once I figure the game out, so I was just mostly asking for softcore players. I'll be very curious how they feel about it.
12 portals.
Cool. Okay, another question. How do you feel about safe mechanics like Toda? Like obviously, RuneScape is probably the game that comes to mind where you can very, very much more than any game I can think of tailor exactly what type of content you want to be doing, right? Like if you want to, you can do completely safe content, or you can focus on like a really hard boss fight where it takes all of your
files.
focus.
I'm sure they're gonna get
what are your thoughts on like being able to tailor your custom content?
So, I mean, I would say that PoE is pretty strong in this regard as well, right? Like, you've got the ability to change the degree to which, like, how many mods you put on maps, and then, like, how much you're juicing things with mechanics for the towers, and, like, all sorts of stuff like that. So I would say that PoE is one of the games where you do actually have quite a lot of control. So, like, you can definitely get, like, look, if you're running a white map, there's not a huge amount that's just going to randomly kill you if you're powerful enough to deal with that. You should be okay. It really is the other extra difficulty you add that makes it so that you're so that you're more safe. And like especially now that the bosses have been moved out of the regular map, so that you can choose whether you're doing them or not. Like you have even that choice as well. So yeah, I'm a fan of tailoring content difficulty, and that is the goal for us as well, right? Just like make sure that you can decide that.
Awesome. Yeah, no, me too. I'm a big fan of that. Very cool. So talking about playing hardcore and pausing and stuff. So let's say that I've opened an expensive boss fight. It took me a while to farm, and I'm halfway through the fight, and I'm like, "Oh, this is not going well. This is not going down well." But I don't want to leave either. Can I pause the fight and be like, "Steel Mage, I need help right now. Please come get me." And can he then like while I'm paused, can he come help me?
So so currently you actually can't like do things like accept invites and everything while you're paused. Now we actually had planned to allow you to do way more stuff while paused. There was this whole pause rework we were going to do. We were going to change the interface so you can pause the game and still be able to like look at the rest of the interface and like kind of do certain things while paused or not, and then we could just make the decision of like what's allowed when paused and what isn't. But we never got it. We unfortunately didn't get time to do it. So right now, you wouldn't be able to accept a challenge while pause. But that being said, you could like pause the game, message your friend, he sends you an invite, you unpause quickly, click accept, and then pause again, right? Like it is kind of possible. And so there's kind of really no reason to like not allow you to accept an invite while paused for that reason, because like you can just kind of do that. Like that would be possible.
Cool.
And ultimately that would mean that you can kind of do that. The question then is like, can you get to the person in a fight? And that depends on the context. Now, I don't actually know 100% of all the rules about this, about exactly what goes on. I believe that when you sea shelter someone, as the players call it, that you go to the checkpoint of the last, you go to the physical location of the most recent checkpoint the player has. And then from there you can go into the boss fight. So during campaign you can certainly just like get into someone's boss fight very easily. What I don't know is what the situation is with regard to maps and exactly how that works. So I would have to check on that to work out exactly what you could do there. I am sure there's going to be all sorts of like exploits and like random issues around pausing and checkpoints as well, and like all of those things. Like I just have a feeling that there's going to be stuff. Like we obviously do our best to think of these, but I'm sure there's going to be some stuff. So there might have to be some tweaks to the rules later on here. But as far as I know, you can do that. I believe. So I'm pretty sure what should happen is, I think that for maps, the last checkpoint is like still in the map room. because there's no checkpoints in map. So I'm pretty sure what would happen is they'd go outside the map. They would be standing where the portals are, and if there's a portal available, they'll be able to go through that portal. And so if you moved the portal close to the boss fight before you went into it, because you can't use the portal while in the boss fight, then that would mean they'd be outside the boss fight. And so long as there's a way to get into the boss fight after the fact, it should work. So as far as I know, that should be how it works at the moment. But as I said, there might be individual rules that we can add or remove or whatever. Like there'll probably be tweaks to this, I'm sure.
Cool. Also, chat really wants me to correct you and say it's we call it swirly.
What? Okay. For some reason, people around here call them seashelling.
Right.
I don't know where that. Maybe that's just in GGG slang for this.
That's funny.
Seashell to me.
Yeah, I mean, it apparently looks like a seashell.
That is really cool, though. I'm obviously a little bit biased. Like, I would love to run like a boss service where I'm like coming to rescue people. So that'd be very fun.
Well, as far as I know, that should be possible right now. But as I said, we might tweak the rules.
Cool. A little bit of like a more random cutesy question with how do you feel about like mini games like fishing or just like things to do that aren't necessarily like the core game?
I don't know. Like some people find that stuff fun. I guess I see the mini games and
our friends groups turn on how we feel about combos and weapon swaps. I'm all for it. Love combos on Druid and Last Epoch. How are you feeling about the added mechanics? I think it's awesome. I've learned in my time playing PoE that one button builds are sweet, but the game has always felt better when I started doing more. When I got into the habit of doing more, it started to feel better. So the idea that I can go into a fight, set up something, swap, and then hit them really hard sounds awesome. It just sounds fantastic. Like it sounds great. And I'm definitely all for like more boss mechanics. And you know, I think it's gonna be really good. I just think we've spent too many years and too much time focused on one button builds that it kind of like, I don't want to say took away from like the complexity of it, but I think people just got too comfortable, and that's why a lot of people are really worried overall about things. I think as soon as the game starts and people start playing it, you're obviously gonna have like the people who are gonna bitch it's too hard, right? But I think as soon as like people start really getting into the rhythm of things and start to understand it and like see like the insane combinations, can you just imagine like doing a slam and then swap? So you like your character leaps midair, goes to slam, you change directions mid slam, you slam a mob, and then you see like a boss is gonna do some like crazy ass move, and then you just weapon swap, shield block, negate all of the damage. The boss has a DPS window, you swap back and you kick it. Like, it's gonna feel awesome. It's gonna feel great. Like, absolutely fantastic. I don't know. Maybe I'm the weird one thinking that that's gonna be cool, but you know, for your merc grenades, yeah, I don't know. Even like with the like in your head, that feels all. I don't know. I played Black Desert Online, dude. Just wait to see how it feels in the game. I'm basing it off of what I did in BDO, and I get they're different games and do different things, right? Like I get it. So I don't know. I have a feeling it's gonna. Oh, what the hell? Thanks for the sub, dude. Holy, bro, that's fucking. You don't know how much that means to me right now. I appreciate you guys. Give us the left hand support of a Submarino, bro. So I'll combo to have spread across. I will have to combo something to spread across like ED Contagion. What's the difference between these two? Path of Exile 2 Early Access or Path of Exile 2 Key? Where are you seeing this? What are you looking at? I would love to give you a better answer. I just need to understand what you're looking at. The $90 bundle. I assume if you have access already, you get a key to give to a friend. So if your account already has access, it gives you a key. Yeah, so you either have access. So like for me, for example, I already have access, right? I've already spent over the years my money, so I have access. So if I were to buy this bundle, it would give me a key to give to the homies. I'm thinking that. That's my guess. That makes the most sense. That's how I understand it too. Is each level gives you keys to give away to your friends.
PoE is more like the different league.
Oh, what the hell? Think you're the sub? Think you're the 5 gifted man? Enjoy. Trust me. I just said it when that gentleman subbed. Right now, after today, like I am more appreciative than ever, and I can't thank you guys for you guys are beautiful, man. It's all good. I appreciate it, man. Thanks, dude.
Mechanics. So, you know, like those are the things that we're probably more likely to add. But, you know, I know people have been wanting a fishing minigame for a long time. I guess, look, we have boat support now, right? Like,
I know.
Wait. What did you just say?
How do you feel about like mini games like fishing or just like things to do that aren't necessarily like the core game?
I don't know. Like, some people find that stuff fun. I guess I see the mini games in PoE as more like the different league mechanics. So, you know, like those are the things that we're probably more likely to add. But, you know, I know people have been wanting a fishing mini game for a long time. I guess, look, we have boat support now, right? Like
I
from
know.
the hideout. so you know, you never know, I guess.
Cool. Two-factor authentication. Is that something we can see improvements of in PoE2?
So this is one of those things where like it's trivially easy to add two-factor authentication. The hard part is all the support policy around what happens when people lose their second factor. And it's like okay, so like how do you verify someone who's lost the second factor? And then like that's a whole thing that's all drama around this. And then like you open yourself up to like all sorts of like support mistakes you could be making when with that kind of stuff. And like it's notoriously like you have this thing. And then people say, oh, you should just tell people that if they had two-factor, then if they lose the second factor, they're just hosed. And it's like, well, you can say that now. Yeah. You say that right up to the point you do lose your second factor, and then you're like, why is there no recovery process for this? You know what I mean? Like there has to be a recovery process. And then it's like, okay, so then how do we verify it? So then people are like, oh, you know, you could like take government ID, and it's like, okay, well now there's like GDPR and privacy implications of this, and it's like it's just kind of an endless rabbit hole of like GDPR random policy and horrible awkward stuff. And so like we should have it, right? Like absolutely we should 100% we should have two-factor. We just don't, and it's all because of that, like the tricky stuff around this. And like one day I just have no doubt we will implement this. But yeah, it's just we just need to dig ourselves out of the hole of all the policy issues with around support for this. That's the thing. And so what I will say though is just as a thing is that you can effectively outsource the two-factor on your account by using Steam if you want, because they have two-factor. And if Steam is the only login method on your account, then effectively you're just relying on their two-factor to be able to work. So you still have that option at least. Right. But yeah, we should add two-factor to the regular login system, and I want to add two-factor to the regular login system. It's just a question of getting time to sort through all the problems with it.
Speaking
that is the most insane fucking thing. By the way, that is literally the fact that there's no two-factor is the most insane fucking thing. I don't know why that blows my mind, but I feel like in the year of our Lord and Savior 2024 going into 2025, like, what? That's crazy. That's fucking crazy to me. I don't know. Maybe it's not that actual big of a deal and I'm just making it worse to be what it is, but like, That's just so mind-blowing to me. I don't know.
Regular logging system. I can't remember if this was already confirmed, but do we still have both the standalone client and Steam?
Yep.
Okay. Excellent. Another community question. So there is a limit of support gems, right? I can only use element control destruction on one gem. I can't use it on 2 gems.
Correct.
Is that
He ain't wrong though. People do be losing their second factor. I mean, I would rather get hosed on my account because I'm a moron than like my boy Jingles over here coming at me fucking robbing my shit. Yo, use them primes, hype streams the other end. Oh shit, bro. Them primarinos, you know? It feels worse. Like, it feels infinitely worse to know that like my account got hacked because it got hacked than, you know, my account got cooked because I lost my 2-factor. I've changed phones, tried to log into media after a year and realized my 2-factor is on the old phone. Yeah, but like if you can like prove things, no, I'm assuming most people are for it. I'm like, I can't see it being very hard for me to be like, hey, GGG, I lost my 2-factor, and them to be like, show us the last 5 transactions you made on your account. And then you like pull your credit card, you know? You know what I mean? I don't know. Lost my original Twitter and original Discord. I would rather lose my shit due to my own fault than lose my shit because some jerk off in some country somewhere decided that today was my day. Like, you know? So I don't know. My cat is being extra needy today. You just want infinite pets, don't you, asshole? The other one is sleeping on the couch. I love that cat. She's such an asshole. But like not a mean asshole, but she's such an asshole.
rule is still the same on my weapon swap? Let's say that I have a lightning ability in one weapon swap. Is that rule still the same on my weapon swap? Let's say that I have a lightning ability
Open my
in
door?
one weapon swap and a cold ability.
Now I gotta keep it
in
locked.
the other, but on both of these main gems, I want to use control destruction.
So there's one per character. It doesn't relate to weapon swap. The thing that I just want to clarify around this is that like it's not like you've got slots that are just like one versus the other, right? Like when you look at your skill screen, they're all just on one screen. That you just get to enable or disable certain skills for being used by a certain weapon swap. So there's no like as far as the question goes, like it is one for your entire character.
Okay. When we saw like videos, somebody had a video going through the settings and stuff like that, and I did not see lockstep or predictive being there. Is that still a thing?
Why wouldn't it have been there? It should have been there. Okay, so
apparently it's only on the menu screen.
Oh yes, because you can't change it while you're in your while you're in game. But yeah, it should be there. As far as I know. One thing I will say is that predictive with WSD, sorry, not predict. Okay, let me get this right. Okay, so there is a mode called hybrid.
Uh-oh.
And I think that with WASD, predictive turns into hybrid, but I'm not sure whether or not they've actually like fiddled around with the interface of this. Hybrid is
Implement a new channel point system for PoE2 stuff. What kind of stuff would you like?
the mode that consoles use, but I don't think it tells you about it because I don't think there's a setting for it on consoles. Right. But effectively, what that is, it's like it's somewhere in between predictive and lockstep. I guess I could like, and effectively what it is that. This is kind of irrelevant, but effectively, with lockstep, when there's lag, internet lag, the whole game freezes. And with predictive, when there's internet lag, the game does not freeze. Hybrid is a mode where we still use predictive networking, but we still freeze everything when the server hasn't replied to you, and that's just because it keeps everything in sync a little bit better, but prevents some of the issues that you get in predictive. And that mode just works a bit better when you're using direct control of WSD versus and
new PoE2 interview. There's been some stuff in this interview that's been like relatively good and like worth hearing. But I feel like a lot of this interview has just been like, I hate this. I hate that this is like the way that it's coined and it fits so well. I feel like a lot of this could have been an email to play PoE1 for an hour. Uh-oh. He sent the questions beforehand, which I think is fine. I think it's fine. Oh, interviews could be an email. I don't know. Some felt better than others. Maybe the interview itself is actually really good, and maybe we're just so over interviews waiting. You see this PoE skill tree on GitHub? Did you see that it still has Eldritch Battery on it and says that it's not in the thing and they still included it anyways? I'm not looking at any of the skill tree stuff. I'm not looking at any of the ascendancy stuff. The only thing I've looked at is better than nothing to do. There's a million better things to do. Like a billion better things to do than work off speculative information. If it wasn't so speculative, if like we knew for certain those nodes were there and those nodes weren't changing before Friday, I would definitely be looking at it, right? But because none of that information is like guaranteed and is like heavily subject to change before Friday. I mean, he said like 3 times in this interview that they're like really against it for God knows what reason. By the way, good morning. Good morning. Even this was like, bro, come on. And he was just like, not happening. But I actually put that in my video today too. So like I did like one of those like you need to know things for Friday video. And I made sure to talk about that in the video too, because I think there's a lot of people who like, just like you, just don't realize that like, that's a thing, right? Like you're just cooked. Like whatever you pick is what you pick. I gotta pee. So yeah, I just don't think a lot of people know. All right, I gotta pee. Hold on. There are discrepancies. Yeah, I am heavily worried.
And stuff without causing too many desync issues. So that's just a random detail there. But yeah, as far as I know, they still work. And they should be fine. What I worry about, and this is just random speculation on my part, is that like pretty much everyone in GGG plays in lockstep.
Yeah.
And so what that means is that like I worry that there won't be as much testing in predictive, and there could be like issues that happen in predictive that we're just not aware of because of the fact that like everyone's just playing
ready
lockstep
for
all the time. So I probably
I was saying this earlier in this interview that like for me it's so hard to want to turn on PoE1. Like I love PoE1, right? Like I really like PoE1, but I'm just like, oh, I'm sure there's gonna be a time though. I'm sure there's gonna be a time though where we get to the point in PoE2 where you're like, damn, dude, I miss PoE1. But like with how it is right now, I'm just like, ugh. You log in PoE1 for an hour or two. Yeah, I just don't think I can do it. I haven't played anything in a week because nothing sounds fun aside from PoE2. You should play Diablo 2, Project Diablo 2. And that has been the biggest fucking filler for like killing time. Like a bunch of us in the Discord have been playing together and it has been an absolute fantastic experience. Definitely something to think about. But we only have what, like 3 days? 3 days, a couple of hours? Be here before you know it. I had a Green Goblin season before donating a year to the boys. I literally just put Green Goblin together to do dungeons with the boys. We just didn't have time this weekend. You're sitting in 5 ways now to do challenges? I have 5 auras right now. I've killed D-Clone, Lucian, and Rathma on a Paladin. You got a dungeon item last night? Wait, how? What do you mean? To turn a map into a dungeon? Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, those are what we're trying to do. Those are so hard. They're so hard. Let's see if we can do a dungeon on stream. I don't think we have the people to do it. Really interesting to see how crit works. Yeah, I'm very interested too. 3 days, 5 minutes. Fix it be 2 days. Uh-oh. And I get to leave in like 15 minutes, 20 minutes to go get my kid from school. And I won't be touching my computer all day because it's going to be like homework and fucking dad activities. Am I still a monk? Oh yeah, dude, nothing changes. If you didn't stream when I was at work, I probably wouldn't do the dungeon while I was streaming, to be honest. I feel like doing the dungeon is more like a sit down and not have to focus on being entertaining. You know, I feel like trying to learn PD2 dungeons like with like friends and stuff is definitely like a sit down with the boys. I hate to make the joke of like, crack a cold one and see what happens, right? Especially with like so much shit constantly going wrong. My kid doing the new math? No, he hasn't started that shit yet. I've been teaching Dean like regular math. I've never seen a dungeon. It's like a map, but the monsters are immune to 4 types of damage, and every monster is immune to 4 types of damage. So you need to bring in all different kinds of damage sources. You've had your 3-person fuck around and find out moment. Yeah, we went in the other day and we didn't have a 4th damage type or a 4th unique damage type, so they won't let me use old math to get the correct answer. That's fucking stupid. You'll pull whatever hair out you have left. Uh-oh. I saw pre-download. Also in the video today. I know you just woke up, so I put a big video out today that has all that information in it. It's on the YouTube. Can't miss it. Just go to my YouTube, interact with the video, leave a like and a comment, hit the share button. They're using boxes and shit. Uh-oh. They're using boxes and shit. Oh no. What's the pre-download info? I think I asked in Discord. I'll check there. The pre-download info is on Xbox. You could pre-download now. If you're playing on Xbox, your game client is available. Just go fucking click it, hit download, and you're good to go. Steam will be the day of. So unfortunately, no pre-download early for Steam. But if your current account has access, if you currently have access to early access, you can download early access on the regular base client Thursday evening, like 8 o'clock at night Eastern. So if you want to download the base client the night before, you can do that the night before. PlayStation will have did something kind of hell yeah, dude. Thanks, man. PlayStation is 24 hours before league launch. Do we know what time the servers go live Friday? 2 o'clock Eastern. The new Linux compatibility. People use Linux? Huh? What? You're gaming on Linux? So late in the day? What do you mean? 2 o'clock Eastern? How is that late in the day? People use Linux? Yeah, for video games? Who's using video games for Linux? Yeah, I know it's popular in coding, but like for gaming? I use both Linux and Windows. I mean, I think Linux is fine. You know, I make the joke, like, who uses Linux, right? But like, for gaming? Dual booting is too much work. And loading a video game on Linux isn't? I'm so baffled right now. You know, slash run all your games? No. Also, my eye is so itchy. And I don't know if it's from the cat. Sometimes I think I'm allergic to my cat. But sometimes I don't think I'm allergic to my cat. I just think fucking shit gets in my eye from this stupid ass cat. I gotta wash my eye, dude. My eye is so bad. Oh my god, it feels like I'm getting stabbed. Yep, my eye was beat red. Oh.
It hasn't received the same testing as what what Lockstep gets. So I would suggest to you play in Lockstep if you can. Obviously, the issue is when your high latency is high. That's the sort of stuff that will be that I'm sure will get more testing as we go into early access as well. But yeah, just a random thing.
A question I just thought of was in PoE1, a thing that can happen is assets loading and being invisible if there were already loading ones. Is that a fixed thing in PoE2?
Unfortunately, that's not fixed, and this is something that really, really bothers me. But look, it's something that we're going to be like we do I really want to fix that. I really, really want to fix it. Like it's the worst thing to me is that occurring. So we'll get to the point where that can occur. It's actually been made harder in PoE2 because of the fact the assets are larger in general. You know, like higher resolution textures and higher resolution like models and stuff like that. So I don't think it will necessarily be worse or anything, but yeah, it really sucks to me whenever a thing doesn't load. And so this is a thing that we will be working on and improving over time. I want to get to the point where it's just 100% the case that you never see an asset pop. Like that would be ideal.
Awesome.
Yeah. But we'll work towards that, but we aren't there yet.
A lot of people are asking about pre-download, especially for people with slow connections, being able to start downloading the files before the 6th.
So the concern there would be
the data miners.
What do you call it? Data mining.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the concern with that.
My question is pre-download / data mining.
Yeah. I'll like we're definitely more vulnerable to data mining for PoE2 than we are in PoE1 usually, just because you know, like there's so much more new stuff, like just the whole campaign being something people haven't played. You know, so like it's that would be the concern. I guess I do understand the why you'd want this though. So I guess I'll just have to talk to. I guess I just have to talk and see how we feel about it. Like, yeah, the concern is data mining, though. That would be the reason not to do it.
So he never says no.
Yeah. That would be that's really the issue.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of like that it hasn't been data mined yet. At least I love that.
Right. It will be interesting to see how fast the data mining occurs. Like, obviously, when you've got a thing like this, like a lot of people. Now, we do have some stuff to improve. Like. Certain things will be harder to data mine than they were in the past, but on the other hand, there are some things the client just has to have, and if the client has to have it, then there's just no way to prevent data mining of it because, like, you know, it has to be on the client for the client to be to be able to see a mod on the client. The client has to have the text of the mod, right? Yeah. So on some level, you've got to have that stuff. So yeah.
Cool, makes sense. Is rarity multiplicative or additive with map / monster?
On the pre-download part, but he never said no, right? He never said no, and he was aware of it. I can't fault them for early access and not wanting to pre-download early access, right? Because it's the first time people are going to see the campaign. It's the first time for everything, and they're trying to keep it like special, right? So I honestly, you can't fault them. It's very different from like a league, right? So no internet between preload and launch? No, just stay off the internet Tuesday or Thursday night. Right? Like, I'm not going to stop people in Discord from talking about it, right? Like, I'm not going to be like, oh my God, don't share whatever in Discord. But if you don't want to see anything preload, fucking data mine, stay off the internet Thursday night until you log in. Well, he said he had to talk to them, right? Right? Like, that was the thing too, right? Like, he openly said, like, just now that he didn't say no, but he did say, like, it's gotta go, like, with every single answer, right? It's gotta go talk to Mark, gotta go talk to Rishi. I'm gonna put on my blinders. I'm sure, like, no matter how much I try to avoid it, somebody's gonna tell me some shit and I'm accidentally gonna read or see some shit. But does it matter? It's not, I don't know, dude. I don't think it can be spoiled in any way, shape, or form. I mean, you know, you got the gauntlet was spoiled, right? Like, think about how much of the gauntlet was spoiled and how much you still walked into the gauntlet the day of. And like, you could have been told all you wanted that Maven was on the beach and nothing prepared you until you walked up the hill like the first time. Because imagine downloading the client at the same time as people trying to hop on. No, it makes sense for that. But I mean, like, I don't know, maybe because I'm older and I just kind of like understand things a little bit better. I'm fully prepared Friday, 2 o'clock, to try to log in and it not work. You know what I mean? Like, I'm fully prepared Friday to like do something like this, right? Where I'm just like, oh, let's see. Like I'm fully prepared to just do this, right? Like, you just sit there and you just wait, and you sit in queue, and you have your small little window of something else that you're doing, and you just like, you fuck around, and you know, every so often you're just like, is it done? Is it done? Is it done? You know what I mean? Like, fully prepared. If I see the servers and get in, I'm leaving work early, but if I see it's a shit show, I'm out. Got my Adderall? Oh no. Balasha Minesweeper. Dude, I got Potato finally. And I finally started watching some shit on it. Potato's fucking cool. I didn't know what I was missing. Also, I'm getting bombarded by the sun right now, so I'm gonna sit like this. Yeah, I had no idea what I was missing. Oh my god, what the fuck just happened?
Really?
My monitors just went out.
To have it, then there's just no way to prevent data.
You bricked it? I knocked something off my computer and both my monitors went out. That was awkward.
Mining of it because, like, you know, it has to be on the client for the client to be able to be able to see a mod on the client. The client has to have the text of the mod, right?
Yeah.
So on some level, you've got to have that stuff. So yeah.
Cool, makes sense. Is rarity multiplicative or additive with map/monster rarity?
You mean so player rarity is player rarity is multiplicative with the map rarity, yeah. Okay. So that's still the case.
Right. Yeah. A question about what leagues are, because obviously we are still going to have leagues in PoE2. What are they going to be based around? Right now they're being inspired by other games. Is that still going to be the case?
Oh, I mean, that's always the case, right? We're always looking at other mechanics. I mean, ultimately, it comes down to what is cool. And so that means that all we're really doing when we're looking at other games is like, is there something we can notice here that could inspire us to be cool? But like, it doesn't have to be another game. It could be a movie or like just some random other thing. Like, you never know where the inspiration is going to come from. But that stuff can definitely happen. Just, you know, can we come up with a cool mechanic? That's all it comes down to.
Yeah.
It was so confusing. It was definitely interesting.
Off the top of your head that you're like, oh, do we really like want to find a way to like get this in PoE that like inspires you?
I don't know that I can name one right now. If like it's like anything that would have happened like that, we probably already made a league for it.
Yeah.
So it would have to be something recent, and we haven't been talking about leagues in PoE2 yet, so we haven't had like a brainstorming session about that yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, as I said, I don't think I can come up with one at the moment.
Awesome. And it's pretty much the final question here. I kind of tried to avoid open-ended questions, but is there any particular large engine changes with PoE2 that allows you to do something that you've always wanted to do in PoE1, but you weren't able to?
So most of the changes, like engine-wise, are actually on PoE1's engine because we wanted to merge them so that we can make all the assets transfer.
Yeah.
Probably one of the largest changes that is different between PoE1 and 2 is the global elimination system. And what that kind of means is that so like any and this was like we had GI in PoE1 as well, but it kind of works differently. So like effectively, the nice thing that you can do with a really good GI is that you can light objects without having to actually place lights in them. Like they just get lit by the glowing parts. Okay. And so you just get a really nice like soft form of lighting from certain things. And certain areas can actually be lit entirely with the GI system, which is just really nice. Like you get the ability to do some lighting that's just really quite different than what PoE1 has been capable of. Nice. So yeah, like that's pretty cool. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that like we didn't actually port over, but not really. Like, because we've tried to get everything as much as possible to be the same. Just for asset portability. There's quite a lot of stuff to do with like one of the engine features we have is the ability to read this is like real technical stuff, but to read the material that's on the ground and use that in the shader of a thing that's sitting on top.
Yeah.
That's
that lets you
interesting.
do things like, for example, we use that in the, the bear slam.
Yeah.
When the bear does a slam, like the actual ground that's under the bear, like the chunks of rubble that come up are like red from the ground that's actually there, so that kind of like fits to the area. So that's kind of cool.
That's really cool.
And there's a few, that's actually used quite a lot, like in more subtle ways. The bear is like really obvious because it's like big chunks of terrain that kind of come up. So that's like another one.
That's very cool.
What's another one that's like PoE2 only? I'm not sure. As I said, most of the things get moved over. Like, I mean, look, one of the things that's gone on generally is that all of the we've upgraded the part. So we used to use in PoE1 originally a like CPU based particle system, and then for most of PoE2's development, we've had this like GPU based particle system, and that just means that the particles can look way nicer. And like that is available in PoE1, but it's just like all those assets were made like a long time ago, right? So they all use the old system. So like just what we're doing with particle systems now is just like way cooler, in my opinion. Like just like a lot of the graphics, like there's stuff like the particles will respond to like wind in the environment. So like if you have like explosions, you can have like wind events on the explosions that will cause like other particles that are around to just get pushed away and stuff like that. Like there's just like little cool things like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's just like there's nice little touches, but as I said, all that stuff is theoretically available in PoE1. It's just it would require us like redoing a bunch of effects to actually take advantage of it. Yeah, probably some of the newer stuff in the leagues probably does, but most
the mute sounds. I'm really curious.
Hopefully that answers some of those questions.
No, that was great. Actually, I thought of another thing. Guild tabs. Guilds are not transferring over to PoE2. What about guild stash tabs?
So because of the fact the guild isn't, it means the stash tabs aren't either. And that's kind of unfortunate because I would want that to happen. But in order to, the guilds just aren't integrated across both games. So therefore, because one guild owns the tab, that guild isn't across, like therefore the tabs are where they are. And as I said, that's really not a like policy decision. It's just a kind of technical decision. So I suppose in order to fix that, we'd have to merge the guilds of PoE1 and 2, and like I wouldn't even be against that idea. It's just requires more work than what we have time to do, unfortunately.
So the answer is basically we will have to buy the stash tabs again, right?
You will for that, yes, unfortunately. But as I said, I just wish that wasn't the case, but it just is, unfortunately, just due to the way that we couldn't get the guilds merged.
No,
that sucks.
Sorry, is PoE Mobile still being worked on?
It's not being worked on right now. Like we put it on hold when we as we realized that we needed the resources, and effectively the people who were working on that, they then were the ones who then were taking over the console interface for PoE2. So what that meant was that we suddenly had a team that could actually work on all that stuff and do all the work that we needed to do for console. So the intention would be that when we get to the point of feeling comfortable with PoE2 is fine, all the interface stuff is all resolved, we're out of early access, we're kind of everything's good, then would be keen to restart the console version, the mobile version again. But for the time being, we're not working on it. And
I mean, that makes sense.
We'll just have to get to the point where feel okay, the console version of PoE2 is good enough that we can get some of the resources and move them over again.
Awesome. I don't know if the last one's a question. I just want to throw my hat in the, oh my god, please let us mute other player sounds. I hate the goblin troops. I want to throw my hat in that.
Okay.
So much.
Understood. Yeah, understood. I'll talk to them about it.
Awesome.
If Ziz is the reason that motherfucker gets muted, I will lose my mind. If Ziz is the reason them little shits get muted,
pretty much all the questions I had. Thank you so much. We are a few days out for launch, and you're taking time to do this. We all the community super appreciate it. Yeah.
Now there's one more interview. I don't know if I'm gonna watch it today. I guess this is we'll take a look before I gotta go.
Everybody hyped, myself included, for the December 6th release of the beta. Now, I've been very fortunate in the Exile about the games industry and what he thinks.
What are you doing over there that's keeping people into Path for 10 over
This was recorded back November 8th.
Path 2? What do you focus on to keep that going?
I really think that it's being unafraid of innovation. I think a lot of game companies, and especially as they get larger, they start to get very sort of dried in the wool, and it even.
So this has nothing to do with early access, right? This is all other shit, right? So there's nothing else. Then we're caught up, right? Because we don't care about the pre-launch. We saw that. We don't care about this. We saw this. Spotlight in the phase, yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, so see, this is the thing, man. It's 112 gigs. Game's gonna be massive. Absolutely friggin' massive. Interviewing Big Ducks. He actually was supposed to do an interview with me. He canceled today. Him and I were supposed to sit down and talk in like a week. And he actually just canceled on me today. No, he canceled. Do they have their own launcher client? It'll have its own client. Yeah, he canceled on me today. He said, hey, dude, doing a Christmas event on the 14th. Sorry about that. Can we postpone it to the first major update for PoE2? Oh, yeah, man. Whatever. I can't tell the guy. I can't say no. So. Wow. That's fine. I don't think there's anything else going on, though. When did they announce all 12 classes? They have not announced all 12 classes. This is just speculation. This is what I mean. This is speculation. These are speculation. He's been going nonstop. Yeah, if he's taking time to spend time with family, I don't blame him. I don't blame him. I would do the same thing. I'd be like, you got like if there's if I had a family event on the 14th, I'd cancel on him too. Stupid sharks better drop the ring and amulet I want. Huh. So yeah, I think we're all caught up unless something major happens in the next 2 days and 23 hours. You know? Unless something happens in the next 2 days and 23 hours, I think the next time we and a community here talk about PoE is I'll probably do videos on it still between now and Friday, but I don't think there's anything else to harp about. You know? So I'm curious to see if Jonathan does another weird interview in the next like 24 hours. So now what? I gotta go get Dean. I gotta leave here in 10 minutes to go get Dean, or go get ready to go get Dean. I don't know what the plan is for the rest of the week in terms of games and stuff, but we'll figure it out this week for sure. I mean, until Friday, sit and cry. Play his last Epoch. Good thing RuneScape's a great game. It's probably just more, yeah, it's probably just more of that. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go get my kiddo from school. I will be live again tomorrow morning. I don't know what we're doing tomorrow morning, but we'll figure it out in the morning. Maybe we'll play a horror game Thursday night before the release on Friday. I'll pick a cool horror game. Maybe we could do like some Poppy playtime or something. I don't know. Pammy fucking was just like, have you played this? And I was like, I've played this. I love this. So maybe we could spend Thursday going through the Poppy playtime games because they're fun as fuck. But friends, for now, DVD time. All right, listen, $100, I'll turn on DVD Thursday. I swear to fuck. I need money. Like real bad. I got a bill to pay. But for now, friends, I'm going to go get my kid from school. And I'll see you guys in the morning. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for all the bits, loves, tips, and subs. Hello to all the new friends. And if you haven't already done it, please go check out the latest YouTube video. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. It would mean the world to me. I'd appreciate it. Just unspare that survivor. Listen, if the money rolls, we'll DVD. If there's no money, Poppy playtime. So I'm getting out of here, chat. I'll see you guys in the morning. Bye, friends. You guys are wonderful.